Hi, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to the January meeting of the Abington Planning Board. So we'll call this meeting to order. Liz, do we have any minutes?
We do not.
9 minutes, okay. Any Form As?
We do not.
Okay. Any correspondence that we need to look at immediately?
No, not immediately.
And the Zoning Board of Appeals agenda, I saw that someplace.
Yep.
Did have one question on that.
Okay, shoot.
Do we normally have a policy for allowing two principal buildings on the same lot?
No, I believe, have they applied? I think that's probably why they applied, right?
Yeah. I couldn't remember if that's one of the,
That's a typical town thing, most towns.
those towns allow it or don't?
Well, in towns, small, like if you're in Hanover, it's a totally different thing, but these small towns, you typically don't have second primary building in the same lot.
Yeah. It's kind of my,
Oh, I get you.
I mean, considering the intersection that's right there, you're adding a kind of significant use. I don't know. I have concerns. I don't know if the board does, but I feel like it's just not as simple as, throw it open.
Do you want me to send a note?
Rick, could you restate
Yeah.
which one we're talking
Yeah,
about?
please.
The
So-
last one?
Yeah, so this is the property at the corner of Plymouth and Central?
Yes, it's the lot across from St. Bridget's.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
Not where the parking lot is, but where the big white house is.
Yeah, and so then out back, there's a large, I guess it was a carriage house or something that they're looking to turn into an apartment building?
Oh, so they need multi-housing.
Three
for that.
bedroom, one bath, yeah.
So, to me, like I said, I think it's a little bit more complicated than just a ZBA waiver, considering you're at a busy intersection.
Oh, it's gonna need a lot, I would say you have to have a lot review, they're gonna change curb openings and probably.
Yeah, exactly. And considering that we just put two houses out back, and so there's more development. I don't know what that translates into, but,
All right.
That was
I'm
what-
happy to send an email along to them for their meeting if you'd like.
yep.
What, okay with that? All right. All right. Mr. Chairman, if you'd like to move right along to Robert English Way. Mr. Kennedy and Mr. Spath are here.
Okay.
Just as a start, I gave everybody a revised tri-party agreement.
Yeah.
The tri-party agreement has been run past both
Thickened.
town council and Mr. Johnson. The additions from the last version you received were on the second page, under F, where it says other documents specifying construction to be completed, namely Town of Abington Form L, which should be attached to the rear of your document. And then there was a question about,
On page 10.
on the bottom of page 2, retained funds called the holdback funds, and Dave and I talked about that, and 50,000 is a good number for that. So those were the two additions to the document.
Liz, just before we get started, I just want to read this from our agenda, just so folks at home know what we're talking about. Discussion, action, request to accept tri-party agreement as surety and vote to release the lots on Robert English Way. So that's what we're talking about.
Oh, here we go.
So if you're okay with the tri-party agreement, they can, do you want to come back tomorrow and do the notarization?
Sure.
Okay. And then Blue Stone Bank can do their own, and then you guys can sign this page tonight, and then I'll just notarize. I'll get a copy of your license and notarize you. So that's what David prepared, when is that, back in October, November? And then if you flip 2 pages ahead, is the actual Form L.
Yeah. We didn't, that wasn't in the packet, right?
I was gonna add, yeah.
No,
Okay.
Liz, do you have a sheet we can sign?
I do, it's right here.
Okay, I'll pass it down.
All right?
Okay.
So if you could vote to accept the tri-party agreement?
Someone like to make a motion?
Here's a dumb question before we do, it might not make a difference. Has that section of Crabtree been accepted by the town yet?
No.
Okay. So can you have an accepted roadway where the only access to it is on a privately owned road?
We're not voting to accept it?
I
That's-
know, but I'm just saying, looking at this when it comes down to some of the terms in here, you know,
That's gonna be a bridge to cross. See, the premise of this, and I hate, I mean, this is not their fault. The premise of this was that McHugh Circle, I think when we went through this last summer, McHugh Circle was gonna be accepted they were gonna do them both at the same time.
yeah.
And they had actually put Crabtree Lane in to be accepted.
Yeah.
And they went through the whole motion, town meeting took action, and then they did not file the appropriate paperwork at the end of that rainbow, so to speak. So it never
Right.
was completed.
That's my concern.
And I don't disagree with you. The town manager is aware of that. I'm not quite sure.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but the town's still holding a bond on that section as well.
Only on McHugh. We released the other one.
You're holding one on McHugh.
Yep.
And, do you know off the top there what the amount is?
It's around 90,000, I think. So it's enough money for McHugh, but the problem is Crabtree itself is still a private way. Because it went through town meeting and then they didn't complete the process, filing the appropriate paperwork.
Didn't town meeting vote to accept it?
It did, but then they needed to follow up and file all that paperwork with the Registry of Deeds, and they didn't do it.
So this can't be signed until the nomenclature is correct?
This can be signed because in good faith, they moved forward with Crabtree was accepted. I mean, at that time, we didn't know Crabtree wasn't accepted. And that McHugh was gonna get done at the same time
Yes, I
as
remember that.
their road. Remember that?
Yeah, I remember that.
Only because McHugh was gonna be the vehicle literally for all the trucks to come in and,
Dave, you read
build
this.
this road.
What I'm asking, I guess, is there language in here that specifically mentions if it's a public way or a private way?
No.
Okay, so that's not part of the wording at all.
When Crabtree, they went through the whole, as Liz said, they
Yeah.
went through the whole process. They submitted the as-built plan, they reviewed the as-built plan, they made the changes, it was submitted to town meeting, and everything from the planning board's perspective was completed. And as Liz just mentioned, the town is still holding $90,000 in order for McHugh Circle to be accepted, as well as any issues that need to be addressed. But I guess the only thing is that they haven't signed the paperwork. Didn't they sign?
everything was done and they needed, there's like a final piece of it that they need to record and work out or do something with town council, and it just never got done.
Is there a limit on that? Can they come in a couple of months, or
It's,
is it too late?
no, it's too late for what they did before, but it's probably not. The Board of Selectmen is opening the warrant tonight, I believe,
Oh,
so they could maybe go through the process again.
okay.
When do you think you're gonna come to town meeting for roadway acceptance next year?
Yeah, we're planning to be complete at the end of 2024.
Okay, so you're looking, so maybe everything can get done in '24? I mean, '25? Right.
Because like you said, they're waiting the top coat,
McHugh and,
queue until we.
and do any punch list worth of items that Dave sees at that, yeah, at that point in time. Yep. Yeah, and I think everybody agrees that that was sort of the agreement going into all of this, right? That we'd hold off, they could hold off on McHugh so you guys could get your equipment in and out
Yeah. right.
without destroying the top coat and anything
Yeah.
else.
Everything's halted up there for a month or so? You haven't worked up there in a while?
We have not.
Yeah.
We finished our work and then we actually applied for a loan, and now
Oh.
we got through that.
Yeah. I guess, like I said before, the guys you hired, I mean, I live on that street on Shaw, and they were incredible. I mean, they'd come by and wave at the kids, but they would go so slow back and forth. I've never seen groups like that. Normally, they don't care.
Thank you. But we intend to have Getting across to the subcontractors is a whole different level. It's not
Yep, well,
really
yeah.
around that too.
Okay.
So I'm happy to,
Do you understand the
work
issue with Crabtree,
council
though?
and-
It sounds like, the seller did not record the throat
Yeah.
documentation.
Correct.
which I will reach out, but I don't know if that's my role, but.
No, I was
I'll
just
be
gonna
happy.
say,
Yeah.
I'm happy to see
Yeah.
if the town manager, how he wants to handle that moving forward.
But the more people we can have bugging him about that, I think would be best, because it could impact the future of it if technically it's a private road and you're connected, that's the only way to your property is through a privately owned road.
Could I ask Attorney Riley a question? Back in the day, this was when all of this stuff was coming up about people not separating the way properly, where they get to the mean, and that property was owned by these people, but they have to sign something so that the property's deeded back to the center. And I remember on Crabtree, not all of that was done. I think there was some holdouts. Do you know if that was completed?
For this road?
Oh, I just wondering if anything would hold it up from being accepted.
No, it actually was accepted, Jeff.
It was accepted?
It was accepted, it
Yeah.
was voted on by the town,
okay.
and the applicant did not
It's been so long. I don't know. Yeah.
finish the appropriate paperwork.
Okay, I thought maybe there might be something hanging it up.
No,
Okay.
no, the town voted it,
Crabtree?
Yeah.
yeah.
Crabtree's done.
All right,
But
thanks,
it's not,
thanks.
because they never filed the appropriate paperwork, so it's still an unaccepted way.
Is Jim Road
Yes,
still around?
private.
It's a private way, yes, it's a private way.
There are a number of them through the town.
Is Jim
Yeah.
Road still around?
Yes, he is.
Theoretically.
Yeah, he's been here.
Oh, no, they sold that house. Did they sell the family home?
That's what we're talking about
Oh,
on the
that's-
zoning
that's
board,
the same
that's the
okay.
Rourke family home.
Ah, I see.
That's
Oh,
what we were
that
just
one.
talking about.
Oh, okay.
Communicated with Jim, and
Yep.
I'll relay
Oh, yeah.
these
Yep.
I was thinking
concerns,
of a
but I
different
don't
one.
know if I
No, I'll talk to the town manager and see how he wants to proceed on that. So,
Okay. Well,
All right,
we're back to a motion in a second.
someone make that motion?
This is to accept the tri-party agreement?
yeah, I'll make the motion.
Someone second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and then if we could have a motion to release the covenant on the 4 lots, 3B, C, D, and A, E. Is this the right, before I go to any further, is that the right reference? Or do we need to, on your release of covenant?
I believe that is the correct reference, if we went through a couple of details.
The bank provided that information?
This is, if you wanna check with me tomorrow, I know the history of this, I'll give you a copy of that.
Yeah, I'm looking for the book and page.
So the covenant for
Yeah.
Robert English from
Yeah.
2021. How's that for you?
Right, I don't think it's the right book and page.
Which one, well, this is not my bailiwick.
Yeah.
I would-
Just that one place, or do we have more to sign?
Hold on.
No, I suppose look at Kevin wants notaries and.
Sean, just for the sake of the TV audience, could you identify yourself, please?
Sure, Attorney Sean Riley, 501 Washington Street, Avenue Center.
It is.
Yeah.
It's the right reference. All right, so I can double check that tomorrow. Do you guys want to sign tonight, but I'll double check it
Oh,
tomorrow?
yeah, sign it.
All right,
Yep.
Thank you, Sean.
all right.
All right, moving on. What else?
Okay, so I need a motion to release the lots in the covenant.
Someone want to make that motion?
I'll make the motion.
Jeff's made the motion. Someone second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor of releasing the covenant?
Aye.
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 Okay, if I can have you guys sign that document, please.
We'll wait till that gets signed before we.
Okay, thank you.
What was the book and page?
Um, 57300 and page 84,
Will be posted 578000,
00,
page
84.
94.
I haven't done that.
And that's supposedly the,
Your pen?
Here you go.
Thank you.
and that is the lease covenant.
Yes.
It's called an agreement in here, about English Lane.
And it's 4 lots?
Hey, Bob. Guys. Sorry, late.
Well,
Still waiting?
yeah, it comes up in this agreement,
I think that's what it is.
probably not right.
You're all set. I think you're all set. Yeah, he's gonna wait till that loads, so if there's a problem,
You need
we'll just,
that paperback, the
Oh,
paperback for
yeah,
Bob's
we'll-
signature.
okay.
So we're about to come and see you tomorrow?
Can
Get some-
come and see me tomorrow.
Okay.
We'll get Bob's signature, and then I'll notarize your stuff, and I'll have his stuff notarized, and everybody will have a copy. You're gonna actually need to take it to your bank, and then they can send back a copy of it.
Come by.
Into the state.
I would say like 9:30, 10.
good?
Yeah.
All right?
Yep.
Give me a minute to breathe and
All right, guys.
gather my little treasures back into my office. All right,
All right, thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Take
Yeah,
care.
guys.
All right, if you want to go,
We're ready to do, I'd like to, can we just take a minute and introduce Kevin?
go ahead. Be my guest, Mr. Chairman.
Hi, everyone. Tonight, we welcome a new member of Town of Abington staff, Mr. Kevin Cogan. He's the deputy town planner, and I think all of us have met him here on the board. Kevin, would you like to do a little introduction about yourself, please?
Sure. Stand up.
No, you can stay right there.
Yeah, so my name is Kevin Cogan. I am the new deputy town planner for Abington, as Bruce mentioned. I'm coming from Boston. I worked first in time at Boston Planning and Development Agency as a on the transportation planning team. And I wanted to get some experience in more planning in a town setting. I have a master's of public policy from Northeastern and a bachelor's from Holy Cross. Nice to meet you all.
I signed it.
Did you see
Wait a
John?
minute, now this is making
Another
sense.
Holy Cross alum. Is
It
the-
went back that way.
Was
is the covenant released somewhere along the line?
Just went back that way.
He handed it to Jeff, went back that way.
Okay.
Oh, this one. Sorry.
There we
Okay.
go.
All right,
Thank you, Kevin. Appreciate it.
thank you.
Welcome.
Nice to meet you, I'm Bob.
Bob sounds great tonight.
Yeah, well,
Mr. Riley is happy. He's got a fellow Holy Cross alum.
So
Want me to ask for him?
I know that I'm asking a big ask here, if we could take 82 Railroad Street out of order and just bump it up, because I'm not quite sure it's a larger project like the other two are. So if anybody's here for 82 Railroad Street, right there. So, we're good? Yeah. All right, so. Mr. Chairman, oh, you have it, right? No.
Okay. I'm going to read the public hearing notice. The Abington Planning Board will hold a public hearing on Monday, January 8th, 2024, at 6:15 PM at Abington Town Hall, 500 Glenowitz Way, Abington, Mass., on the petition of Reed Realty Trust, 1385R Washington Street, Weymouth, Mass., and I'm not going to read the zip, for a special permit to convert the existing commercial space on the first floor of the three-story building into one residential unit, allowing an all-residential use in the Central Business District, CDB, under the Abington zoning bylaw, section 17838. Property is located at 82 Railroad Street on Assessor's Map 53, lots 14, 21, and 22. Plans can be reviewed at the Abington Town Clerk's Office. Bruce Hughes, Chairman, December 24th and 31st, 2023. So,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So just by quick way of introduction, Mr. and Mrs. Aronson are the current property owners of 82 Railroad Street. The previous owner was Mr. Ryder, and Mr. Ryder originally permitted the project through this board many, many years ago, and it was in the Central Business District, and it was a permitted mixed use. At one point in time, the first floor became an apartment. Unbeknownst to me, it appears through research that Marion Wong Ryan did out of the building department, that Mr. Ryder went to the Zoning Board of Appeals and asked for an all-residential use, and they granted it to him.
Oh, yeah.
And they didn't have any right to grant it, because they were not the permit granting authority at the time.
Oh,
So, in order to try and straighten all of that out, the Aronsons have filed a special permit with this board tonight, in the hopes of asking for an all-residential use at 82 Railroad Street. And I thought they included a copy of that decision letter.
Decision letter from the ZBA?
From the ZBA. I thought I had a copy of it.
No, it wasn't in the package, no.
All right. Let me see.
I think a lot of us are familiar with that property, and they went through the permitting process to convert that whole theater. into-
Right, the first time.
Yeah,
Yeah, he did a fabulous job.
he did. It's a nice building.
probably the nicest building in Abington,
Nicest building in North Avenue Center.
North Abington Center, yes. My mother used to work there when it was a greeting card company,
Oh, God, yeah.
back on,
Yeah. I remember shopping there when it was a green card. Yeah.
So maybe that was just a fairy tale I was making up. I thought that's what Marion told me. Did Marion tell you that? No. No? Okay. I thought that's what she told me. So, I'm gonna retract that, because I think it might be a fairy tale, but I swear to...
I don't recall her ever telling me that.
All right, I swear to God, she showed me a letter from the zoning board. But she does have a, and I'm not sure if I gave this to you, a letter of a zoning violation because there was a unit on the first floor. But-
That was the one dated November 30th?
Yes.
Okay.
Any board comments on this?
Generally not comfortable with the number of requests to ignore our commercial requirements that we've gotten and are getting, as well as, I'll leave it at that. But I think this isn't their issue. They didn't cause the problem. This isn't anything, they haven't done anything wrong. So I don't have a problem doing this, but as just kind of a matter of fact, I really think we need to take a hard look at the number of times or future requests to turn commercial into residential, especially as we look at some of the tax revenue implications of what we're
Yeah.
doing here.
No, I agree with you, Rick.
It seems to be, that seems to be a tough, I know it's beyond this issue, but getting anybody to develop that has any commercial experience whatsoever to bring in a commercial client on the first floor, that's where it always lacks, and then it sits there because they don't bother with it. And then they come back and ask for residential.
Yeah. This would have been mixed use, right?
It started out that way.
Yeah. And we have had,
There was 2 stores downstairs, one on either side,
yeah,
and they both went out.
and we've had people appearing before the board recently indicating the difficulty sometimes in that kind of arrangement. It sounds good in concept, but then you can't rent the commercial space out, and it remains vacant. So that's the flip side, I guess, but I agree in general terms with Rick's comment that that's something we just want to be careful about, the exceptions that we're granting on that.
That's from the sewer department, that's from the water department, that's from the building department, and that's the treasurer and the revenue taxes.
A couple of things I've got, if it's okay, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, please.
You had given us a site plan.
Yes.
Yep. And just informational? Was there, yeah, you gave us a site plan with the submission?
Right, yes,
And was that just for our information? Was it?
yes, yes.
May I give you a little hint? When we bought this property, we never knew there was a commercial space there to start with. So I guess it's been an apartment for over 10 years. And the only reason why we found out about it is because there was a tenant problem and everybody got involved, and that's how we
Sure.
found out about it.
That's what you were explaining in your letter here, what the history of this has been.
So that's why we're here to resolve it. I mean, we had fire inspections, we had all inspections, and everybody come back and said it was a 6-unit building. And that's how we bought this property.
Yep.
And we weren't aware of this at all, so we don't know how many stores were there or anything. I mean, it's got a full kitchen, bathroom, it's sprinkled, it's, you know, all state of the art as far as safety,
Sure.
2 means of egress, you know. So, we don't know anything about, you say there was 2 stores. There was
Yep.
only one building, one area like, you know.
No, there was 2 spaces on either side of the door.
Yeah.
There were 2 different stores on either side.
It's a long time ago.
Yep.
So it's just one unit now on the bottom?
One, yeah.
It's all built out as an apartment, okay.
So how many units altogether? 6?
6 in that building.
Yes. 5 and 1.
Just wanted to
I guess
take
they have the
a
problem.
moment
It's
to
working.
read a couple
always have
of comment
lots
letters
over there.
we get from the
6 total?
Abington Town Boards. Abington Department of Public Works, John Stone. Abington Sewer Department has reviewed the request for information, I can't talk tonight for some reason, regarding the planning board hearing scheduled for January 9th. This proposal located appears to have no bearing on the sewer system. Joint Waterworks, Crystal Cameron, Superintendent. Let's see. Any plans submitted and approved by other boards does not constitute water availability. Change renovations will require that the proponent fill out and submit a request for water application along with plans to be reviewed by the superintendent and committee if necessary, Board of Water Commissioners. And there's some comments from the building department. Applicant was, this is going back, the applicant was granted a variance from the ZBA at the December 14th, 2023 public hearing. We have a decision letter. Oh, yes. Building department agrees with the summation of the issue, which has led to the property owners to apply for a special permit to legalize the unit 6. And so town boards are on board with this.
Thank you.
Okay. Rick, did you have any further?
Any
Yep.
neighbors? I don't think it
Any
is.
neighbors here for this?
The neighbors, no, there's only like, it's sort of behind the cafe on North Ave and Railroad.
Mhm.
So the only neighbor next door is 84 Railroad, and we own that as well.
Okay. Well, I'm just looking at, they give you a list of people that are affected.
Yeah.
And so, but none of those people, they've all got notices, so,
Yes.
yeah. Okay. All right.
So that one building has 6 units in it?
Yes.
Where,
What's on the other two
What's-
floors?
what's on the other 2 floors?
Apartment,
Apartments.
How many apartments on the 3rd floor?
2,
How many on the 2nd floor?
2,
And there's only 1 on the 1st floor?
1 apartment, and then the store is separate one.
So we still have a store on the 1st floor?
Well, you call it a store.
Is it another apartment or is it a
It's
store?
It's an apartment as of right now,
So there's 2 apartments on the 1st floor?
Yes.
yes.
Just a couple of quick questions. So the special permits requested under 17538, and for mixed use, and some of the provisions for that are that the facility is, or the building is connected to the public sewer system, which it is, right? 1 parking space is provided for each dwelling unit. I think you went over that in your letter, that you've got sufficient parking.
Yes.
And we're not on town water either, we're on, well,
Okay.
So you don't have to worry about going through the water.
I'd love to get on town water, you know.
No units are located on street level or within a basement.
Not below ground level.
Yeah, this
No,
also
but that-
stipulates street level, and the reason I'm mentioning this is because I just think that if we're going to grant a special permit tonight, we want to make sure we understand what it is we're granting,
Yeah.
and we're not limited in the way that we phrase the grant such that you have to come back again at some point in the future because we didn't allow for something.
Okay.
Um,
Appreciate that.
So there are units on the street level, 2.
Yes.
Yep. There shall be no more than 2 bedrooms per unit.
Correct.
So that's not the current situation is,
No, this is only a 1-bedroom. The place that I'd like to convert to a residential is only a 1-bedroom.
yeah, but this applies to the whole structure, to the whole
Okay, the
building.
whole structure has, it's 2 bedrooms.
No more than,
That's
yeah,
it.
no more than 2 bedrooms per unit, okay. Units must have a means of egress separate from the commercial use. No access to the unit shall be through a commercial development. We're kind of taking commercial use off the table. And then all units must meet the minimum requirements of the building and health codes for habitable space. And I guess the letters that we've received kind of satisfies that building department and the health department have said that they're fine.
Yep,
Okay.
yep.
So it would, no units located on street level is something that we just need to be mindful of, that we're, I guess that's already the case, but we're allowing a little bit more of that. And then I think that satisfies all of the other piece parts of 17538C2.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments by the board? Hearing none. I guess we're looking for a motion to approve the site plan and the special permit.
Just a special permit?
Just a special permit. So we're looking for a motion to approve the special permit for this site?
Because it's a special circumstance?
Yes, because of the special circumstances.
Also move.
Second?
Second. Motion made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So approved. So folks, congratulations.
Now, do we have to come, I heard you say notified, certified,
No, I'll send you a letter,
okay?
and then you'll, after 21 days, you'll get a copy of it from the town clerk, and she'll stamp it and say that
We have to take it
you,
to the registry of deeds?
and then you have to take it to the registry of deeds.
Okay.
I get 2
Very
weeks,
good.
I get 2 weeks to file it, and she gets 21 days. All right?
No problem, thank
All
you.
right, I'll try to, if you don't hear from me within a week, jingle my bell.
Okay.
All right, now,
Thank you.
Thank
and
you
I'll
so
try to
much.
get it to you.
Thank you.
All right.
We want to do 198 Center Street.
And that's, we'll head back right to the tippity top of agenda again.
Okay, 6:05 PM or more or less. Public hearing, site plan and special permit, 198 Center Ave.
Mr. Chairman, I can't vote on this, I'm in a butter, so I'm gonna step down.
Okay, cool.
For Center Ave.
Huh?
Center Ave.
Yeah.
Attorney Riley, you doing the presentation on this?
I am Stephanie Hoban, can we use that easel here?
You're gonna use that easel. Dave's gonna scooch over a little bit, because we left you a microphone. If you wanna pick it up and walk around with it,
No?
you sure? All right, so we need that hearing notice.
Okay, let's go.
Back of my head,
Center Ave. Do you got that somewhere, Liz? Okay. Public hearing notice. The Abington Planning Board will hold a public hearing on Monday, January 8th, 2024, at 6:05 PM at Abington Town Hall, 500 Glenowitz Way, Abington, on a petition of Abington Investments, 245 Central Street, Abington, Mass., for a special permit to construct 8 one-bedroom units allowing all residential use in the transit-oriented development district under Abington zoning bylaw, section 175-37C. Property is located at 198 Center Ave on Assessors Map 24, lots 21 and 9. Plans can be viewed at the town clerk's office. Bruce Hughes, Chairman, December 24th and 31st, 2023. So, someone like to begin the presentation?
Sure, thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name's Attorney Sean Riley. Attorney Sean Riley, 5 Washington Street, Abington, here representing the owners and developers of the property, Abington Development, which is Glenn LaPointe and Glenn LaPointe Jr. here in the front row. Joining us today is Stephanie Hoban from Strong Point Engineering, who is a registered professional engineer, who will be helping out if you have any technical questions. This is the property on Center Avenue, which is Route 123, the northern side of Center Avenue, at the corner of Quincy Street, which is a one-way street that exits out onto Center Avenue. There's an existing two-family building to the right side of the property, which is not part of this site plan review. It's the vacant lot to the left, which is the corner lot, that actually extends all the way out back behind the two-family and out a distance under Island Road. We're actually own part of the pond. What we're proposing, if things go successfully, that we would essentially cut off the water, the land under the water, and propose to donate to the town. Whether that goes through the Conservation Commission or to the town, we don't know yet. We haven't met with the Conservation Commission. It'll be one of our next meetings. So this project is in the transit-oriented development district, as the chairman just read. The purpose of the transit-oriented development district is to encourage development of land uses that complement both the existing commuter rail line and the established areas surrounding the station. This property is within walking distance of the commuter rail. I think you're familiar with it, where it is. And this property is also surrounded on all sides by other residential uses. We have already been to the zoning board with step 1 of our procedures. This has been a multi-procedural, a lot of issues that we're working out. We've been meeting with a lot of town officials to make sure that everyone, the left hand knows what the right hand is doing. So we have already met with the zoning board for the sole purpose initially of asking them if they would grant us a setback variance. Because there's a unique quirk in the transitional oriented development district, the Todd district, that says if you build a mixed-use building, meaning commercial on the first floor, residential on the second, third, and fourth floors, you can put that building 5 feet off of the street line. But if you build all residential, you have to have 25 feet off of every line, front lines, back lines, side lines. So the proposal, and you had copies in my submission, the proposal is to put the building in the corner, if you don't mind, I'm going to. The building that is shown there is shown as being 5 feet off of the street line, both the Center Ave front line and the Quincy Street front line. It is currently, as it's shown, it is 24, just over 24 feet from this line here. It's under our zoning bylaw. You can call this a rear line, you can call it a side line. A rear line is defined as a line that's opposite a front line. A sideline is defined as anything that's not a front or a rear. We've considered this as a rear lot line, and under the Todd rules, it should be 25 feet, where we are at 24 feet. But we asked the zoning board to allow us to construct instead of a 3-story mixed-use buildings, which would have commercial garages on the first floor and 8 one-bedroom units on the second and third, a total of 8 one-bedroom units. We would prefer to build a smaller building with no commercial, with just residential. It would have 4 one-bedroom units on the first floor, 4 one-bedroom units on the second floor, with no commercial. But in order to put that building in that location, we need front yard setbacks, because if you go 100% residential, now you're supposed to be 25 feet off. And as you can see by the lot shape, it just jogs and jogs and jogs. Trying to find a spot to put a building that's 25 feet off every lot line is impossible. Secondly, under the TOD district, we're required to put our parking lot behind the building. So even if we were to say, all right, we're gonna put the building out here, we need a variance because now the parking would necessarily be in the front. We would also be building within 100 feet of the wetlands. That creates other permitting. So this can be built as of right. We could build that building, the 3-story mixed-use building, without any variances for setbacks. But we just don't think it would fit the neighborhood nor the property. Because there is, as I mentioned, there is no commercial entity on Quincy Street. There's no commercial entities across the street, other than Franny Refrigeration and Spencer's Pizza, which is around the bend there. As you come heading towards the commuter rail, you're walking by all residential neighborhoods, residential uses, until you get to the corner store on Park Avenue and the T-station itself. So looking around what else was in the area, we have the existing 2-family, we have a new single-family house that's here. Up on Quincy Street, it's single-family, and then there's multifamily on the other side of Quincy Street, and there's multifamily across the street. So we went to the zoning board first as step one and asked for the setback to allow us to essentially build a smaller building, which they agreed that it was much more in harmony. They granted the variances. So they would allow our proposed 2-story building to be built within 5 feet of the front lot line. But we also asked them, because we were required to be 25 feet from the back, if they'd give us a 4-foot variance to allow us to be no closer than 20 feet from the back. What that allows us to do is essentially move this building up to 4 feet backwards, just to give us a little bit more space in front of the building for shrubbery and just sight, line of sight. So that building shows its worst-case scenario up tight to the 5 foot, which we're allowed to do, but we can move it back up to 4 feet, and we likely will move it back 1 to 2 feet. We'll show that on an as-built plan.
So that request was made to ZBA and approved?
That has been approved by the ZBA, and I did bring copies of that. When I filed this application, that hearing was pending. So this is a copy of the zoning board approval. So that allows us to go to your board, because your board is the only board that can allow the proposed 100% use. Because we're in the Todd district, much like the CBD, which you were just talking about in the prior hearing. We're asking the board tonight for 2 things. A special permit to allow a residential building to be built here and not a mixed-use building. The second thing is site plan review. Whether we want mixed use or multifamily, you have to do site plan review. Site plan review is not required for a person, 1 family or 2 family, but everything else. The special permit, we comply with, check the boxes. I know that you have a letter from the water department we've already been approved by the water department for the 8 units. They're all one-bedroom units. I do have a copy of that letter, and I know Liz probably hasn't filed it. I'm just gonna submit that for the record, that the water department, we've already met with them, we've already submitted our application materials, and they've approved our water. Sewer, we know there's enough sewer. When this plan is done, we would go to the sewer board, and we would get their stamp of approval. There's no issue with sewer capacity in the town at this point in time, so we're not concerned about that. We've also met with the fire department on more than one occasion. They've been very good to work with. I'll tell you what, one of our initial drawings had a driveway came out and looped through the property out to Quincy Street, and it was a thinner driveway. I can't remember the exact dimensions, but it was about 16 feet of a driveway. And we thought it might be good if you just had everyone turn off the Center Ave, and then you would exit out onto Quincy Street and then turn again and go out to Quincy Street. Then we were like, the fire department said they'd prefer if we just widened this and had this as a typical enter and exit. It would be easier for them to maneuver if they had to maneuver. But we kept this stub right here so that either an ambulance, fire truck, UPS truck, or trash removal has a way to do a 3-point turn and leave the property. So that way no one's backing out into Center Avenue. That was one of the things we talked about with the fire department and with our engineers. We satisfy all parking requirements. The TOD district requires that we have ground level lighting, so what we proposed and what we submitted is just typical residential lighting. At the doorway entrances to the building, which are on the east and west side, this is north facing this way. On each side, there will be an entrance, so you just have typical residential lights on the left and right of the doorway. And then in your materials, we had some standard residential lampposts. We're not using parking lot lighting, just residential lampposts around the site, not to light it up like Fenway Park, but just to have it still maintain as kind of residential in kind of character. We also have a landscaping sheet that we've submitted to you, which shows where we'll be planting trees and planting shrubs. The wetlands on the property, this is the pond out here. It's actually off the plan. There is a little spur of wetlands out here. So as you walk farther away from Center Ave, the wetlands are out back here. We're not filling any wetlands. We're not within the 50-foot no-build zone. We are within the 100-foot buffer only because this is the location of the proposed infiltration pond for the drainage, stormwater drainage. So the water flows out to the wetlands now. It'll continue to do so, just that we're now going to clean it, catch it, clean it, and release it in accordance with DEP standards. So the fire department also submitted, I know, an email to the town planner. And they have reviewed this plan, they reviewed our prior plan, they reviewed this plan, and they support and approve this plan. And again, we have a good working relationship with them. It's easy to work with them while everything's on paper, and we can make changes before we get to the hearing, and we were successful in doing just that. I mentioned the lighting, and I mentioned the driveway, how that's evolved over time. So there's also, I just want to note for the record, Mr. Soper has recused himself from the board because he actually isn't a butter to this property. He doesn't live anywhere near this plan. He lives way over here on Reed Street off of Park Avenue. But as I told you, we own the land under Island Grove, which goes all the way out and abuts the end of Reed Street. And in fact, in full disclosure, and it's in your paperwork, there's a small area of uplands along the shoreline that abuts his property that we would cut that off and convey it, just because it's useless to everybody but him. The pond would be the town property. Should the town so choose to accept that donation, that gift, which we anticipate they will. It provides, we are under the requirements for lot coverage. We comply with lot coverage. And as I mentioned, it's kind of a multi-procedural thing. We went to the zoning board, got the setback variance, which allows us to now go to step 2, which is here, to ask for the special permit to allow the use, the limited use as a 2-story residential building, and the site plan review. From there, we go back to the zoning board, because this property is technically within the watershed protection overlay district, which protects the wells on Myers Avenue, which is over near the flag, if you were looking at dimensions. This is Center Avenue. The flags are on the other side of Summer Street. And actually, in earlier zoning maps, everything north of Center Avenue was not in the watershed protection district. But they did a recent update several years ago, and for whatever reason, a small area was now included in the watershed protection area. And guess whose property is in that little bulb? It goes right about in here. So what that means is we have to get some special permits from the zoning board, and those special permits have to demonstrate that we have implemented stormwater management that basically feeds the water back into the groundwater table, and that there's no pollutants. The Watershed Protection Overlay District, its main purpose is to have restrictions on certain uses. So you can't have gasoline stations, you can't have large septic systems, anything that can contaminate the wells. We don't have any of that there. This is a residential use and we're using town sewer. But when we talked to the zoning board, and we also met with the building department, with the building inspector and with the zoning enforcement officer and explained the strategy. We thought once we get site plan review, and inherently in that is stormwater management approval, that's where we could take that back to the zoning board and say the town engineer has reviewed this and has signed off, and that this conforms with all of those requirements for the watershed protection district. So we will be going back to the zoning board, and any of others will be getting yet another notice about that hearing. We're not sure yet if that'll be in February or March. And we have to also go to the Conservation Commission, because as I mentioned earlier, we're doing some retention pond or infiltration pond work out in the far back area, which is just within the 100 feet, but it's not within, we're not, again, filling any wetlands or damaging any wetlands in any way. So there'll also be a notice for that one also, Conservation Commission notice. Again, we prefer not to go to Conservation until we can tell them that the stormwater management system has been reviewed and approved by the town engineer and the planning board. So that meeting will be sometime in late February, probably March. They meet every 2 weeks.
There was a Form A also?
Excuse me?
There was a Form A for this as well?
There will be a Form A for this. That was another thing we had to do, is go to land court. Sounds ooh, but it's not. The front parcel of the property is registered land. The rear parcel is unregistered land. It's just something really cool for us real estate conveyancers. It means nothing to anybody else as far as site design goes. But to do a Form A plan, any subdivision with land court registered land is a real pain in the butt, because not only do you have to approve it, but the land court engineering department in Boston has to approve it. And that can take months, if not more than a year. So I filed a notice of what they call voluntary withdrawal, asked them to just take it out of land court and make it all unregistered land, and it just goes through the regular process with the planning board and gets recorded at the registry of deeds. That has also been approved by the land court. So we've done a lot of work before we came to you. There's been a lot of thought put into this, and I want to give credit to Stephanie and Strongpoint Engineering for a lot of the things they did. I want to talk also, just, wrap up, and you can throw your questions at us if you'd like. We are proposing a solid fence between us and our residential neighbors, which we're required to have. There will be a small retaining wall, and I'm talking no more than 3 feet, where our parking lot is about 3 feet higher than this lot. This house here got foreclosed upon. I don't know the status of it. Someone went out there within the last 2 or 3 weeks and took down their fence, which was good, because it was partially on our property. We were going to remove it anyhow and put a new fence up. That fence is now gone. We're proposing to put a fence in there. And I will tell you, typically our bylaw requires a 6-foot solid fence. This area right here, right here, where cars would park, we wanted to propose a 7 or 8 foot fence for the benefit of our neighbors, just so that, it just gives them more privacy. We're allowed to build a 7-foot fence, no problem. If we decide, or the building department, zoning enforcement wants us to go to 8, we need a building permit from his office. But that's the only area where we have a higher than 6-foot fence there. Otherwise, Dave Johnson from Norwood Engineering has given us a pretty thorough and very encouraging review letter. I think it's probably a good time for me to step aside and maybe Dave can go over his comments, and we'll be, all of us can answer any questions that you or any of the others might have.
Mr. Riley, before Mr. Johnson make his comments, I just wanted to read a couple of letters from town departments. Fire Department reviewed the site plan, 198 Center Ave, has no concerns at this time with the current design. Fire Department was approached a few months ago with this project. At the time, we had concerns about the traffic design with the one-way traffic and narrow driveway on Quincy Street. We were supplied with the redesign of the site plan, addressed all our concerns. Any questions, feel free to reach out. And that's from Chief Cotty. And from the Waterworks, has been approved, the project has been approved by water. So those are good. Mr. Johnson?
Quick question, if I might. So, lot 2, is there parking being introduced different from what's there today for lot 2?
Yeah, lot 2, which is the existing two-family house.
Yeah.
Right now, the parking and the pavement is on the other side, it's over here.
Right.
So we're building, basically putting in new pavement. And what we've, thank you for bringing that up. What we've done here too is we've implemented stormwater management even for that property, even though it's not technically, it's a two-family, doesn't go through site plan review. We are collecting any rainwater that goes on this property, and it's gonna go into this retention area, there'll be an easement set up. So Strong Point looked at the entire property for that single purpose, the drainage issue. The two-family is not changing in any way. It stands alone. It'll be sold separately, and has all the required parking areas.
Just need to make a couple of additional comments, I'm sorry. 198 Center Ave, applicant was granted a variance from the ZBA, December 14, 2023, public hearing. Applicant is aware that should this project move forward, filings with Conservation Commission and ZBA will be required in the future. And the Abington Sewer Department, this proposal located must be approved by the Board of Sewer Commissioners at a regular schedule. So, guys are aware.
And I omitted one thing, I also met with the assessor's office today. I got a lot of meetings with this. And my clients don't even know this, this new building, if approved, would be numbered 186 Center Avenue. Right now, it's being filed under 198 for all permitting, because that's the currently assigned address. But it will become 186 if that shows up in any documents moving forward.
Thank you, Mr. Riley. David?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll go through very quickly some of your comments. Some of them might be mundane, but I'll go through it so that the board can get some sense of how things are working out here. In terms of the site design, we recommend that the community mailbox, which is shown in this location, which appears to be accessed by people either coming in, going out for safety reasons, be rotated 90 degrees so that it's accessed off of the walkway going into the structure. Our concern was people either coming out and getting out of their car, leaving their car there, walking around to get to the mailbox, or worse, pulling in, because you know how lazy people get, pulling up in this direction to reach out of the car window. So that is, I think, an item that can be addressed. It'll probably have to be approved, the location by the post office. The building inspector, this came up, number of rental properties, is whether or not ADA parking is required for rental units. So he needs to be consulted whether or not some of these spaces need to be designated as ADA accessible. In terms of fencing, the only addition beyond what Mr. Riley indicated was the dumpster specification for the fencing there, whether it's vinyl, wood, should be shown on the plan. Parking in the building layout has been reviewed by the fire department. I think Mr. Riley has also addressed the relationship between Lot 1, Lot 2, and the need for the Form A plan. Couple of details need to be provided regarding the Cape Cod berm and the vertical granite curbing, location and construction. One of the things that the board looked at a number of years ago, and I can't remember where it was, but we talked about having some type of outdoor space for the residents to, able to use, since there are no really any, too much space adjacent to the building here. Potentially, there could be some usable space out here for, picnic tables, gas grills, and so forth. So that would be an item that the board really needs to give some direction to the applicant on whether or not that's gonna be a requirement of site plan review. The rear yard, Mr. Riley noted, some clarification needs to be shown, whether it's 24.4 or 20.4, which one is it?
That plan shows the building setback 24 feet. Now that the the setback variance has been granted, we are now allowed to move it to 20 feet. So as I mentioned, we will likely move the building 1 to 2 feet further off of Center Avenue if there's approvals. So instead of 5 feet off of Center Ave, it would be probably 6 or 7, and off the back lot line, it would probably be about 22 to 23.
So that can be adjusted
Right.
as
Without
part of,
moving any of the
as part of
parking or anything.
the revisions to the plan. Bike rack is a requirement of the TOD zoning requirements, and that should be shown someplace either externally or internally. Proposed sign for the use, I assume there'd be a freestanding sign, or just a sign on the building? or-
Yeah, it may simply just be the number 186.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's not a,
Just show that in the plan. And then confirmation of the setback of the driveway from Quincy Street is requested to be shown on the plan to show confirmation, show compliance with the requirements of the zoning bylaw.
Okay, so the Center Ave driveway from Quincy Street, is that what you were, I didn't understand that.
The Center Ave access to the building,
Yep,
Quincy Street.
okay.
And have that shown on the plan to confirm exactly what it is. In terms of traffic, it's our opinion that Center Ave has adequate existing roadway width and grade and sight lines for the level of traffic that's anticipated for a one-bedroom development with walking distance to the rail system by the potential residents. Stormwater design, just to highlight a few things, is they're proposing subsurface stormwater for the roof. Some additional details need to be provided on that in terms of a layout of piping around the building and some labeling and showing connections to the subsurface system. They've done soil testing in the area to the rear of the property, but no testing was done within the stormwater recharge. So a condition of approval should be that any tests be done prior to construction and submitted to the board for review to confirm the system meets stormwater requirements. Some additional calculations need to be provided for recharge to comply with stormwater management requirements and DEP requirements. It's not apparent from the application, and I'm not sure if you or the engineer is aware, that this is not only a town of Abington watershed district, it is a DEP designated zone 2. So there's a separate set of regulations that would be required for stormwater within the site. Our initial review is that the applicant meets those requirements, or most of those requirements, but since this is going to the ZBA, documenting that they meet those requirements of a local bylaw, that the applicant provide a written summary of the DEP requirements, the town requirements, and how each of those requirements are met with the stormwater design, rather than having us go through and do that. So, that's probably the most significant, item that we came up with in terms of stormwater. The two final things under stormwater are, there's only one catch basin shown, and other than the roof drain, all of the pavement is collected by one catch basin in this corner. We're suggesting that a double drain catch basin be provided to prevent any stormwater jumping the curb and coming down and doing any type of erosion or sedimentation into the basin. And they've also indicated, is this a slab on grade, or does it have a foundation?
There's a basement in the, if you're looking at the building, the upper half of the building, basically for laundry and utilities.
They're proposing a foundation drain, and I think it needs to be shown on the plan, and particularly the potential discharge point for that. And it should not go into the stormwater basin, because it will throw the calculations off. So they need to either look at some type of subsurface that's higher than the basin, or come up with some engineering approach to how you're gonna discharge that without putting it through the.
Yeah, probably gonna have to pump it and put a dry well out there.
That's up to them, unless additional information can be developed when you do the soil testing for the infiltration basin. You may find that the water table is such that there is no potential for infiltration around the foundation. We looked at some of the utilities. Those minor comments are there for the benefit of other town departments during their review. Grading for the site, and this relates to the stormwater drains around the building. The top of foundation and the basement elevation should be shown to confirm whether or not groundwater is gonna be an issue with the building. They've indicated it is a partial slab on grade. In terms of site grading, the most important one is they're showing a fill above existing grade between the building entrance and the back of the sidewalk on Quincy Street. Some additional grading or identification of how this access is going to be made accessible, and whether or not fill is going to be placed over the sidewalk. If you've been out there, you know the sidewalk is in disrepair, so we're suggesting the board requires part of site plan review that section of the sidewalk be repaired as part of the overall grading of the site, which I think the repair and the grading may go hand in hand to resolve both comments. As Sean mentioned, lighting plan shows post lighting. We're suggesting one additional post light be placed at this end of the parking lot. They're proposing in this location, this location, this location. One should be placed here to illuminate this part of the parking lot. Couple of questions that are minor on labeling for the landscaping plan. And then the Conservation Commission, it's been clearly stated by the applicant that they'll need to file a notice of intent with the Conservation Commission. They are proposing work within the 100-foot buffer, but they are not proposing any work within the, I guess, the new 25 and 50-foot buffers that were adopted recently by the Commission.
35-foot no disturb, a 50-foot no building, and a 100-foot normal.
So they're only proposing work within the 100 feet,
Right.
not in the 25 or the 50. So generally, our recommendation is that the items in this comment letter can be addressed by the design engineer for compliance in coordination with us. And in general, the plans are well prepared and address the requirements of site plan review contained in the zoning bylaw.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Floor is open for board comment now. Any comments from the board?
So there's, as is often the case, a number of recommendations that Dave has made via Norwood Engineering, and sometimes we get feedback ad hoc as to whether those have all been accepted, some have been accepted, none have been accepted. So,
Sure, I can give you some feedback. And I forgot to just say, just so everyone kind of picture this one, this building we're proposing is very similar to, almost identical in size to Steve Goslin's building that he built on the corner of North Avenue and Adams Street. Where I am, across from the gas station, across from the Baptist Church. That's basically has the entrances on one end and each end. Very similar style, almost identical size, just so you have that in your head what it is. Going down some of the things on Dave's list, I'll just pull a couple out. We did consult with the building inspector about the ADA parking, and we believe our parking lot complies. I believe it's if we had to have 15 spaces, then you start triggering an extra ADA space. We have 14 spaces, so we're okay. But we'll obviously check that, he'll be checking that again when we go through the building permit application. Some of the other ones are, Eagle Eye noticed some typos on the plan, which is great, that's why we have another set of eyes review it. Love that.
Well, you shouldn't say they're just typos, I think they're important typos.
No, I mean, things like 31 should be 21, you're right, the assessor's lot number is 21, not 31. That
When
was-
you go through permitting and everything's
Right.
under 31, and you're applying under 21, it's just,
No, I'm
we
not
don't get,
shaming
we
you
don't
at all.
get spelling things. We don't get spelling.
I mean, you're right, I think at one point you noticed that our construction entrance, our gravel was not 3-foot chunks of gravel, but
Yeah.
3-inch chunks of gravel. That's
Sometimes when you stare at it for so long, you don't see the little things.
When
David's
you're on,
been around for a
when you're looking at a
very long
screen,
We haven't done that.
The Form A plan we both mentioned, that Form A plan would come back to this board at some point before anything would be sold. The outdoor space, we've talked about that also, and that's one of the reasons we asked the fire department if it was okay if we got rid of this driveway that was originally pavement all the way out to Quincy Street. We wanted to create some sort of lawn space adjacent to the building, in addition to whatever lawn space and green space. There are no trees out here, this is just all open field right now, so that will remain, with the exception of, obviously, the infiltration basin, but that'll grow wildly as it is. So there'll be a lot of greenery for people to look at. There's some immediate green space right outside the building, and it has a little privacy because it's to the rear of the building. The bike rack has always been an issue because it says a covered bike rack. And I think that's intended for rain, because obviously no one's riding their bike with snow. We were talking about it, about putting it somewhere, you know, do we want it near the building? Sorry, my mother keeps trying to call me. Hang on. Or out in the rear of the parking lot. We'll discuss that and show it on the plan where it would go. We also agree, or I agree with you about the mailbox, rotating it, so it's basically designed for a resident to walk up to. As it's shown here, it's designed for a postman to drive along next to, which they like, but I think what Dave's comment is the more usable, reasonable way to go. And if the postman literally has to step out of the vehicle and take 3 steps, that can be done. They have to get out of the vehicle anyhow with these type of gang boxes. We talked about the proposed sign. It won't, I don't envision a sign, if anything, it'll be a number. The soil testing we know about. Strong Point will work on whatever confirmation for the DEP Zone 2 stuff there is.
For that, I know we have written it all up, so I don't know if that report just didn't make it to you.
Okay.
I'll check that.
Yeah.
Probably made it to me and I shipped it to somebody to review.
And so essentially, we're not disagreeing with anything. I'm not saying this because he's sitting here, but Dave always has, you know, good suggestions how to make a site better. So the idea of requiring the points to rebuild the sidewalk in Quincy Street, no problem. That's what they do. I think it benefits not only our project aesthetically, but also
controlling water, and it helps the neighbors who might use that sidewalk. So that's not an issue to us at all.
So the design of what that sidewalk would look like would be on a modified plan?
We could show it, I mean, it would just basically blend in what is already there and extending on Quincy Street.
So we're showing, I think on the layout sheet, we're actually proposing a step over here, so there'd be less of a grade change between the sidewalk and the actual doorway, which would fix some of the grading issues right there.
I guess the question revolves around whether or not, even though you're not required with ADA parking, does it have to be an accessible route?
I
So.
believe it would be an accessible route from this side of the,
The
I,
front entrance.
I forget what the trigger point is, but it's 25% of a larger number of apartments when you have to provide one of them to be handicapped. And that's, but I don't remember where that trigger point, I don't know if 6 units would trigger it.
No,
I did research this, because I met with the building inspector about this, and I didn't bring it with me, but I have the citation. I believe it's for all residential structures, once you're 15 spaces requires 1 ADA. Anything under it doesn't require any dedicated ADA.
Oh, that's with parking, but if you got, that's great, but I'm talking about people living there, whether your ADA spot, that's just for a visitor at that
Oh, for
point.
the accessible route you're talking.
Well, if one of those apartments has to be accessible,
Mm.
then you'd need an accessible parking spot. Accessible parking spot, for no reason, would just take up more room. But I'm just saying, that's the trigger point, whether you need handicap parking or not, is how many units you have and the percentage of the, it's in the architectural barrier board, yeah.
The AAB, yeah. Architectural Access Board
Yeah.
regs.
Now, even though there isn't ADA parking,
Yeah.
the parking lot is accessible spaces in terms of grade.
Okay, so it's a separate thing.
Right.
Okay,
So it's accessible grade, and that's why they should look at the accessible route,
okay.
even though there aren't designated spaces.
So in short, to answer Mr. Shepherd's question, I think you stopped me if I'm wrong. We don't have any objection to some of the suggestions or to any of the conditions. I mean, the real condition that I see is you shall rebuild the sidewalk. The other ones are also requirements, show the bike rack, show the turned mailbox, show the extra lamp post, show the foundation drain. Yes, we'll do that. Not an issue. Can be, and should be done.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, please, go.
just a clarification, a couple points. Is Lot 1 going to be split off?
The two-family?
Yeah,
Yeah, that would be sold separately, and it stands alone.
okay. And so the back side of it's going to be kind of this Tetris Z piece that zigzags back there a little bit?
You mean the parking area?
So from the house to the parking area to the drainage
yeah.
ditch, that's kind of a little Z.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. And that'll be the condo truck on that, or,
Right, so that's the lot line.
right, and-
It will be defined, that was one of the other, we'll do that with a Form A plan to confirm and get you the dimensions, but correct.
it'll be basically that lightning bolt shaped.
Right, and if the town for some reason says thanks, but no thanks, we don't want your donation. Sorry.
Do you want me to talk to her?
Sean, you should talk to your mom.
I probably should. This 30,000 plus lot would become about 80,000 or 90,000 square feet.
How much space is between the back lot of that Lot 1 and that neighbor's lot, at that smallest point?
The back lot of this lot 1,
Nope, Lot 1,
lot 2,
Lot 2, I'm sorry, Lot 2, that back corner, and then there's, yep, so go north or east, I guess, nope, up.
go up, up, up.
Yep, so right there, that little neck right there.
Yep.
What, nope, yes, now go that way,
Oh, here.
yeah.
Well, if parking spaces are, what are they, 10 feet wide?
Yeah.
10, 20, 30, 40 feet, roughly?
40 feet?
Roughly, yeah.
Okay, all right. I don't remember, I've only been on the board 9 years, so I don't remember creating this shaped lot intentionally before.
I think it just existed, right?
Yeah.
Just been that way.
Yeah, I mean,
No, I mean, we're cutting off the piece on the bottom,
Oh, that's new.
yeah. That's
yeah,
what
TOE
what the
requires
concern is.
a 10,000 square foot minimum, and that's
Yeah.
what the two-family has suffices.
Is the water quality for the watershed district our issue or ZBA's issue? to making sure that it meets the standards of recharge.
CBA.
ZBA.
ZBA? Okay,
It does.
it does?
So, yes.
Okay.
We need, that's actually one of the reasons that we have, the retaining walls along here is because of the groundwater elevation. We had to raise the parking up so that we could put water quality structures in
Underneath it?
underneath it, so that we could, clean the water before we put it into the infiltration basin.
And that becomes the condo association's maintenance responsibility?
Yes.
Okay.
If it's a condo, if it's not a condo, it becomes the building owner's maintenance responsibility.
Okay. So the building is located on Center, but the main entrance is off Quincy?
No, building's located on Center, on the corner of Center and Quincy, but the main entrance is on Center.
So this is the front entrance of the building will be here off of Center, and then this secondary egress will be off of Quincy.
Okay. I feel like we've triggered one of our more recent bylaws about when residential isn't facing on the street, the main entrance isn't facing on the street. This is based on the Summer Street condo where you pull in, but the part that's right along the street is basically just flat vinyl. And so we passed the bylaw at the 21 special town meetings that says, when you have those situations, that streetscape area needs to have additional architectural detail to help spruce it up, between landscaping, architectural detail. It can't just be a straight sheet of vinyl and a couple windows.
Well, understood, and that's why I pointed you to the Gosselin building, because we're on a corner lot here.
Yep.
Much like the Gosselin building's on a corner lot.
That's not a great example, Sean. It's 40 feet between the street and the building, and there's trees and landscaping and grass and bushes between.
Right.
Right. There's none of that on this one.
No,
I have no
really?
problem that it's right on the street. This is not what the Gosselin building is. Size-wise, sure, but there's 30 to 40 feet of landscaping between the sidewalk and the Gosselin building.
Correct,
Yeah.
which is, they have shrubbery and lawn space. We're not gonna have a lawn space, but we have shrubbery. The landscape plan shows that you're gonna have landscaping going all the way down the Center Ave side of the building.
Yeah.
Okay? And yes, you have an entrance on either, where's the entrance face? Does it face Quincy? Does it face Center Ave? You're not gonna have the main entrance to the building on Center Ave here,
Yep.
when the parking is required to be back behind the building.
Right, and that's not what the bylaw required, though. It wasn't having an entrance on the street. It was just that they had to have enhanced architectural
Yep.
details. So you just don't have that blank wall.
Right.
Don't you have that?
We have the architectural drawings we've submitted. It's broken up with windows. We're planting trees between windows. I don't, you know.
How far is the building off of the sidewalk?
I don't know if the back of sidewalk is on the lot line or not, but it's, I don't know. It's shown here as if the sidewalk, rear of sidewalk is at the lot line, so we have our additional 5 feet, which I mentioned is probably gonna be 6 to 7 feet, and then the building.
All right. Which one of these sheets has the landscaping design? I was having trouble finding it.
It was filed
It
separately.
was sent separately.
Remember, the TOD district basically allows the buildings to be 5 feet off the lot line. That's what the
He's talking about the
TOD does.
architectural appearance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but there's also enhanced architectural requirements for the Todd district. I guess basically what I'm getting at is that I've said publicly that I think that the La Pointes do a great job in this town, and they've built some great neighborhoods in this town. This, I'm not feeling. It's very dense, it's heavy, it's a heavy use of the property. I don't think this fits in with the character of the rest of the neighborhood. The rest of the neighborhood's very much village-style homes with, architectural details, and I know you can't quite do all that anymore, but, and especially with the transit-oriented development district specifically requires additional architectural features. Landscaping and architectural elements shall be of high quality, reflect the historical New England character of the town's central bit of the district.
I will say something, I don't know if you noticed it,
Yeah.
but in that 5-foot setback is going to be an overhang. There's This thing is it's got
Yeah.
posts out front and it's got a roof over it.
But that's gonna be facing the two-family, and it's gonna be facing Quincy Street.
Yeah, right, what I'm saying as far as.
But if you're on Center, you're not gonna see it.
No, no.
When you're in Center, if you're driving up Center Avenue, if you're driving westerly on Center Avenue, you are gonna see the entrance with the stonework on the front. And if you're driving the other way, you're gonna see that other entrance. Yes, if you are literally parallel with that building and look,
Yeah.
while you're going by, you're gonna see the side of our building there. But the majority of your trip, as you pass by, you're gonna be seeing the more attractive part of the building. There is a six-family literally diagonally across the street over here.
I have no problem with multifamily, I have no problem that it's 5 feet off the street. I just wish it fit better aesthetically and with everything else that's around it. Only reason I bring this up, and maybe it's a little sensitive, is that a couple doors down, we said, we kind of didn't pay enough attention to the architectural issue.
So what the,
And we ended up,
they got turned around.
and we ended up with a split-family ranch,
That's-
full-level
yeah,
ranch,
yeah.
when we specifically said that's what we didn't want.
Yeah.
So I think maybe we're being, well, at least I'm being a little oversensitive, and that's fine too.
You get sick and tired of people lying, that's about basically it.
Yeah, so,
I mean, our intention is to keep this building, we also want it to look good. I mean, it's something it's not something we're selling, it's
Yeah.
something that we wanna keep, and it's just, and we want, whatever we can do to make that building look
yeah.
as good as possible. It's gonna have our name on it.
Are you
know.
gonna do real shingles? Are you putting shingles or siding?
It's, I don't think we got that far yet, as far as.
Well, you can show, well, the reason being is that I don't wanna get too deep into architecture, because I talk about stuff, but I wanna talk about the intention of this. This is the street view, and it ignores Central Street completely. Now, if it had some kind of a feature in there, but actually what would take this thing down, if that became aluminum siding across there, oh my God, it's just another thing on the side of the road that you hope someday gets torn down. But if you're gonna do shingles, which are incredibly expensive right now, I just wanted to know if that's a nice feature to having a shingle side,
Yeah.
or a clapboard side. Or I like your mixture, because you did it on one of my neighbor's house with the stone going up the front, really looked nice. And that's what I'm remembering this to be like.
We're open for suggestions. Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's something, we agree, I mean, we're gonna drive by it every day as well, so it's something that we, I think, are gonna take a lot of pride in.
I have no objection that's 100% residential, no objection that's multifamily.
Yeah.
Just,
And keep in mind, Jeff, what you're showing there, that coordinates with the landscaping plan. If you look at the landscaping plan, the space between the windows is where the trees would be going, and the shrubs would be going under the windows, because we intentionally didn't want to block windows with the trees, but we wanted to block the blank space with the trees.
Some degree, I mean, I've seen them do a factory on Rockland Street, someone put bushes in a 2-foot section, and no one can get to them. They grow through there's a
Oh, I
big
know,
fence on it.
yeah.
Actually, just purely from my standpoint, what would be the easiest thing is using PVC, nice trim on the windows, you'd be done. Match that side piece with some little accent on the windows, and you'd be done. That's my opinion of it.
Yeah, we don't have a problem, I mean, like I said, we agree, we want it to look as nice as possible, and also fit in with the neighborhood.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the idea of spending some more money to make it look good, I don't think, I'd say, not at all. We want it to look as good as we can.
I think it's a great stretch of road, it's really interesting, it brings some great character to the town, and like I said, I have no problems, 100% residential, no problem that's multifamily.
Excuse me.
You've done.
Jeff, do
Yep.
you have any comments on lighting?
Yeah. I'm not a big fan of any light you can see directly, but I look at my house, it was like, it's a pain in the ass. I just wish you could hide the bulbs someplace to get all that light. What I had wanted is that it just kind of jumped out at me. You have guardrails right up against the parking and a couple of feet away, the fences. And snow plowing should be really tough. You're gonna lose parking spots all over the place. There's only one side that's got area, the bottom side of the lot, that's got area for snow to actually go. You have an island out front where you can put the snow plow, but you gotta drag that snow out of there with a plow blade to get it out of that parking spot.
We actually, thank you for bringing it up, we actually eliminated this parking space, and it's shown on the plan as a snow storage area.
Okay, that was.
So we have it there, we have it so you can push it this way, you have it push it this way, and push it that way. So we did, because half of their life is plowing
Yeah.
snow, it's something that we design in some of these
Okay.
sites. So there is an area up here to have some storage, and then the
Okay.
bulk of it is on the locations.
It'll work. I'll make it work. It'll make it work. Oh, it's a technical thing. I don't know what you, because I didn't walk the property, so I don't know how ridiculously wet it is or wild it is. But I noticed that you had 3 benchmarks, none of them on the property. Is there no bounds on the property? I'm wondering if some corner markers need to be placed.
It has been surveyed.
But it's been surveyed, but you'd have
There-
to guess it. Where the-
There's a bound here.
Yeah, so there's one.
There's one here and there's one here.
Okay, and the other one was across the street on Central.
Yes.
On
And
Quincy.
sometimes it's just easier to have the benchmarks that you're using not be, like for, I believe this, we weren't using that as a benchmark because it was inside of the fence.
Not so much the benchmark, I guess I'm just saying, when we look at new properties, one of the things we're very considerate, we make sure it goes through, is that boundaries have been set in the
Yes.
ground, so we can find them again. But if that's all swamp water, then it's kind of dumb.
Yeah, no, this is where this proposed line is, that's all wet.
Okay.
Um,
All right, well, I'm just mentioning, any thoughts about that? No? Okay. That was the markers, front step. That was the fence, sidewalk repair, one of the biggest eyesores in Abington, everywhere, is everybody puts their utilities on the street. God knows why, but they put the utilities on the streets, everybody has to stare at these rusting gas boxes and everything else. Where does that enter this building? Is there room for that? Is there inside room or for the electrical and? Where are the meters going to be on the building? I guess what I'm saying, I hope they're not on Quincy or Center.
I don't know if it's been decided yet, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
You try to, I know we specifically are making a basement area for the mechanical rooms and the laundry facilities. I call it the upper half of the building, if you're looking at the plan.
Yeah. So mainly it's where those meters are going to be sitting, or whatever they use
So
nowadays.
you would prefer if we try to get the back here? Or-
Yes, and visually blocked, but yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and that was really it. Everything else got answered. You've got room for the step out front, because I don't know what it was. Again, back to the ADA parking spot. If you provide an ADA parking spot and there's no way to get in the building, then you gotta make an ADA accessible front entrance, which is a 20-foot ramp, because this is about 20 inches off the ground with landings. So having an ADA spot where they can get out of their car, but they can't go in the building, isn't much use. That's why I have problems with ADA spots.
Well, no, she can tell you exactly, but I believe that this is going to be ADA
Yes.
accessible. And we're suggesting as part of the grading for the site and the reconstruction of this sidewalk, that the grade in this, not coming in from Quincy Street would be ADA accessible as well.
And that still works out to be probably like a 20-foot ramp.
Yeah, so,
No,
A 20-foot ramp plus a landing.
no,
If
so
it's-
this one we are calling out stairs on this side, but this side would be ADA accessible. There's no step on this.
Is there anything limiting the property from dropping the first floor level with the ground? You have to do a dip in the foundation, but is there any reason, is there rocks under the property?
Well, groundwater, at least groundwater back here is within 4 feet.
Okay, it's been 4 feet.
So dropping the building, one would make the grade, so we based our grading off of the Center Ave entrance
Okay,
and set our first floor based on the Center Ave. And there was probably a 2 to 3 foot difference, I want to say, between the Center Ave and the Quincy Ave.
oh, okay.
Grades.
All right, and then this side's just got about a foot, but I guess what I'm looking at is you got the first floor, even if you just did it on the front entrance where you bring you've done this, you bring the foundation up to floor height, and then it just acts as a water block.
Oh, yeah.
Just because ramps are horrible, no one ever uses them.
Right, so this one, this is
I don't think they need correct me if I'm wrong, but if they have a 1% grade from the street
Yeah.
into the building.
But the building, if you look at the drawings, about 20 inches off the ground, which makes it a 20-foot ramp. So even if it's 8 inches off the ground, it'd be an 8-foot ramp.
That's one of my questions. I wasn't aware of what the height of this foundation is.
I'm just looking at the pictures. That's why I'm wondering, because when you do commercial property, try to get it down to the ground and,
Yeah, so We're assuming that the first, sometimes the pictures don't necessarily match the exact grading. You know, our first floor elevation is 93.9. So basically, that allows for, we would have an ADA accessible ramp right here,
Yeah.
and this is full grading, ADA accessible all the way up to
Okay.
this door.
I can see the
Where
ramp on it.
this side would have stairs.
And that side stairs, and you'll bring the grade up to, okay, I see it now.
So this side would be accessible, this side would have stairs.
Okay. All right, thank you. I think the only thing I wanted to mention is there any problem about having, because I'm wondering if they'll actually be built, the canopies over the front and rear door with, I call them a canopy, will those be built? Is that, I see the plans, I'm just wondering if they're gonna actually be built. Okay. All right, that's it, that's all I had on that, Bruce.
Are there any members of the public here that would like to comment on this? Okay.
One more quick question, Mr. Chairman. So, Dave, I'm sure you've looked at this and done the calculations on it. We're showing a subsurface infiltration basin,
Yeah,
and my understanding is that it's catching everything that's coming off of the roof
yes,
and being fed into that.
yes.
So, in general terms, how does that work? Once all the roof water is pumped into that subsurface infiltration,
By gravity.
so we have a sense of how it works on the
Right,
surface.
that's what we're suggesting there. A piping plan be prepared to show general, what portion of the roof is going on which side of the building and where it's coming into the, system. And the grades at the system coming in and the grades at the downspouts. So I'm not sure if I answered your question.
So on the surface, I mean, you can, all you gotta do is look at it to see how it works. On the
Yes,
subsurface, is the concept the same? Is it collecting the water and holding it?
Yeah,
or-
so what happens
An
is,
infiltration.
yeah, the downspouts come down, and instead of just shooting the water out into the grass or the pavement, it keeps going down, usually about 1.5 to 2 feet, and it's piped in there. We just have chambers.
It's like a leaching trench.
Yeah, like a leaching
Like
trench.
a leaching trench.
To replace the water,
Yep.
yeah.
So you take the water off the roofs, bring it down, and then you send it back into the ground.
Which is again, one of the things that the Watershed Protection Overlay District wants to see the recharge.
Something
Back
else.
into the groundwater. That's why they actually prefer the open retention area out back. They like to see that, because that serves as a filter, basically.
Sure, yeah.
I just had a quick question. I know there's been a lot of talk about, wanting to get away from oil and gas, and a lot of places are promoting heat pumps. Have you guys looked at anything like that as far as alternative ways of heating and cooling this building?
We have, I don't think they've really perfected it yet. I mean, you're talking some 50,000, 100,000, you know, and, it might be in the future, but
Yeah.
not yet.
Well, I just know a lot of communities are requiring that actually now.
Mr. Chairman, can you explain what you mean by heat pump?
Heat pump, it's a way of heating and cooling a house. I'm not an engineer by any stretch of the imagination, but it doesn't involve a boiler or anything like a conventional gas or oil.
Oh, I can tell you all about them
They
now.
use
It's
electricity.
electric heat.
Use electric.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
what I think, because,
Yeah.
they haven't really, those units you see mounted on the walls everywhere, they haven't come up with anything nice yet.
I know there's a development on East Bridgewater, on the East Bridgewater line near the Honsters Farm, and they actually use the
Geothermal.
in-the-ground heating, cooling. That's wicked expensive, I understand.
Geothermal?
That's the
Yeah,
geothermal,
yeah.
yeah. We're not doing geothermal
Well,
Right next to Island Grove, I don't know why.
it's a new year, we're just trying to promote new ideas here. I'm not trying to,
So it works even in the winter.
I would ask if, the feedback I'm hearing is that the board supports the idea of having this as a two-story residential building, which requires a special permit. If that's the board's inclination, we would request respectfully that that won't be taken tonight, because as you know, the special permit has to go through an appeal process and get recorded, whereas the site plan approval letter does not.
And we'd like to be able to report back to the zoning board and to the Conservation Commission that we're moving forward with residential only. Also, selfishly, it doesn't make a lot of sense for us to kind of fine tune and tweak the site plan unless we know that you guys support the use of the building, because it's all interrelated. If you're inclined to approve the site plan, subject to Dave's review of his list, wonderful, we'll keep moving, and we'll go to the Conservation and Zoning Board. If you want to require us to come back, let us know. But if you would consider voting to approve the use, that kind of clarifies everything for a strong point and bullet points. Yes, and the neighbors.
How many votes do we have?
All right,
Special permit?
I guess,
Move the question.
move the question, Mr. Johnson.
You need to come to every meeting, Dave.
You're not the chair, Dave. Okay, so I guess we need to have a motion to close the public hearing. Would that be in order?
Yes,
Would
please.
someone like to make a motion to close this public hearing?
So moved.
Second. What?
Depends if you want us to come back with the site plan or not.
Oh,
But, I mean, if you close the hearing, you're telling me that we're not coming back with it. That's up, I just want to alert you.
Okay. All right, then, I guess we would, a
So I
motion?
guess you guys need to decide that.
Yeah,
So, is there a time sensitive, I mean, it's always a time sensitivity, but only because I feel like there's a lot of loose hanging threads, and we've talked about a lot tonight, and I feel more comfortable just kind of like come back next meeting with just kind of a clean, finished product. But I don't know if is that a hardship?
Well, the special permit is a separate issue, is whether you want the two-story residential.
Okay, all right, okay.
That, you can decide tonight.
Yeah.
And we're still obligated to submit a final site plan, at least to Norwood Engineering. So if the board feels comfortable that the items that Dave mentioned were, I don't wanna say that they're minor, but they're relatively things that we can, what's that?
They're doable.
They're doable, yes, thank you. That Strong Point would be obligated to submit a final site plan to Dave for his review, and if he finds anything he wants further review, it'll go through another edition before we can get a building permit. You've done that in the past.
Okay.
Yes, that would be what the La Pointes would prefer, but at a minimum, we would ask that the special permit be approved so that clock can start while they're working on the site plan to submit to Dave.
so we're not gonna close the public hearing.
You can if you'd like to, if you don't, if you want to approve the site plan, submit to Dave's approval.
I think the thing we should do is to approve the special permit tonight.
I'd make that motion.
Jeff's made that motion?
I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded to approve the special permit for 198 Center Street, Center Red Road. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Did you say something?
Thank you.
Wait, a minute, did you have to vote too? Okay, because I
He
know
did,
we
it
have
was
a certain
It
amount.
was unanimous.
Unanimous by the people sitting here.
All right.
And then you would like to continue
Want to continue this to our next
the
meeting?
site plan piece of it?
Would you be ready for our next meeting, guys?
Well, we'd have to beg for the town manager's indulgences. To come back for your February
You need to be
meeting,
here Friday.
we'd have to submit all of responses by this Friday.
You'd have to talk to
If you could,
Dave
I'm
on his
thinking
timeline.
The following Friday might be possible.
Or do you want to go to March
It's up
then?
to you, I'm retired, so.
I mean, if we could have an extra week to get the revised stuff to you by, instead of the 12th, the
19th?
19th.
19th, yeah. I think that,
As long as I have a couple of days to review it.
Yep.
Not a problem.
Okay, so we plan
We
on
can also
having,
talk
Yeah.
on the phone while you're doing it.
okay, so we'll plan on having you folks come back to our February meeting,
yes.
all right?
But I think, from what I'm hearing from Rick, is you really ought to have some more fine-tuned architecturals addressing his and Jeff's.
Loud and clear.
And then there was that,
Gables,
other
wood,
thing.
stone,
No split level houses.
oh, and the outdoor space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was, the board needed to
Bike
provide
rack.
direction. Bike rack, okay. So motion to continue the site plan review to the February meeting.
Motion, please.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks for the input. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Next up,
You want me to open the window?
phone call from Mickey?
Is it warm in here?
Phone
call to
It was warm in here at one
I would say
point.
pretty quick.
Right? Try wearing a mask. Right? Like purple?
his mother used to be a selectman in this town. His dad was,
Oh, Sean's. Oh, that's so funny.
his dad
That
was
his
on
mother
the
was
high school.
called. His mother was
I think it was really nice to see. Each one is more than that. It's maybe it's not saying much.
Yeah, right next door.
Is this too Oaks on Medford?
Oh, we're gonna need,
I'm gonna say, does everybody need to have a seat? Okay.
we're gonna need Dave.
I know you've been standing a little bit.
Thank you for your patience. We'll wait till Mr. Johnson comes back.
Just getting a
Gosh,
glass
I
of
always thought
water.
That's fine. Christie Colvin gets calls in church when she's preaching a sermon. And she's like, we know what time
On Sundays,
Yeah.
before noon, at least until 1 o'clock, leave me alone.
They're done now.
You know,
They're done already.
almost all of them are
Oh my
college.
God, that's so funny. There's no public hearing notice.
Okay, no, so I'm just gonna announce this one. All right, David, you settled? Okay. Go for it. All right, next up, 6:25 PM, site plan review, 207 Bedford Street. And, sir, I assume you're gonna present, could you name, address, please?
Sure, it's Bill Phelan, attorney from Quincy, Massachusetts. I'm here with the owner, who is Lam Nguyen from the Evo Company. Unfortunately, Kevin Fleming, the project engineer, is sick with COVID. I just found out tonight. He's been suffering for the last week. He traveled, we've had to travel about 2.5 hours. He sent an email tonight that he just couldn't make it. He did receive Mr. Johnson's peer review, however, and understood that this would more than likely be continued to another date to address some of the concerns of Mr. Johnson, which he also tried to pencil in some comments regarding it. So we're here for a site plan review. I know Mr. Newman was before this board, and I believe the zoning board in the past, where he was proposing a 14-unit building. And, I guess didn't have too much fortune with that, and he went back to the drawing board and came back with what we believe is a pretty reasonable proposal, which is 8 units, all of which are 2-bedroom units. It's a 26,000, a little over 26,000 square foot lot. We're here for a site plan review. We'll have to go in front of the zoning board for a special permit for the use, because it's a TC district. I wish the engineer was here, but nonetheless, it's essentially 2 buildings, one 3 units and one with 5 units. He's prepared, I think, a pretty extensive stormwater report, which Mr. Johnson went over. And I understand there are some questions with. There's also questions with regards to landscape architecture. I know my client read some of the comments, intends to address many of them, agrees with many of them, and will come back with a landscape architectural design that will, I think, significantly improve some of the buffer areas, particularly those related, looking in from Bedford Street to the project and to the side. I know there's a 20, according to Mr. Johnson, there's a 20-foot buffer with regards to the southern end of the project, which would be right here, I believe. 20 feet is what's required, although you can allow lesser than that with certain architectural, landscape architectural designs, fencing, and the like. There's issues with regards to where the stormwater is gonna run off the roof and whether that is sufficient capacity with the current design. I think if the two engineers get together and talk, I think those can be addressed in the future. The project is a nice project. I'll show you just a schematic of it. I hope I'm not gonna select too much, but this is what it would look like. Coming in from Bedford Street, 5 units and 3 units. They're not too high, 3 stories, they're about 35 feet in height.
To the roof, you mean? To the peak of the roof?
Yeah, I believe so. I have,
Oh, wait, 10, 20, 30, 3 stories.
yeah, it looks higher, but I don't think it is. I think it's 35 feet in height, so.
It's 3 stories, basement, garage,
No,
first
there's
floor?
no basement, it's on a slab.
Oh,
Cement slab.
no garage space, no garage?
There's one garage on the first floor level, 1 car garage and 1 car parking outside. There's a total of 19 spaces. There's some question as to how many are necessary. My understanding was it was 2 per unit, which would be 16, would be some additional spaces. However, there is some question as to that. We'll get to that on the peer review when we come back. We'll address that issue. In addition, Mr. Nguyen talked with the fire chief, Cody, and asked him if there were any concerns of it. He reviewed it, seemed to be okay with it, although I don't have a letter from him stating that, but I anticipate that that would be the case. And we're here to, hear the neighbors' concerns and see if we can address the concerns of the town.
Okay, I think we're gonna proceed. You made your opening.
Thank you.
I'd like to have Mr. Johnson make some comments, and then some board comments, and then we'll get some public comments. Okay, so David.
Yep, thank you. We completed an initial review of the project in terms of parking, some stormwater, and layout of the site, and we're recommending that we not proceed with any additional review at this time, because there are a number of issues or items that are going to affect the final layout and design of the project. That are dependent on a number of items, which I summarized in my letter, and I'll go through those quickly. The first item, as the attorney said, is the 20-foot buffer on the southerly side of the building, where they show an 11-foot setback. It's our opinion that an 11-foot setback to a building with this mass of 3 stories plus a roof 11 feet off the property line, plus trying to put a drainage swale in that 11 feet just doesn't work. There needs to be, as in the last project, possibly some outdoor space. These are condominiums or apartment?
Yeah.
Condominiums. So there should be some outside space behind these buildings that residents of the units can have behind the unit. But the mass of the building and trying to put a swale in an 11-foot space doesn't work. In terms of grading in that same place, there's only about a foot drop in elevation along the side of that building. And it's going into a rain garden that's located at the existing low point of the building, of the site. That low point also goes on to abutting properties to the south and to the east. So with the rain garden, if there's no overflow for that stormwater, there's the potential for it to go onto the abutting property. So some additional work has to be done in terms of the drainage. We do, applaud the engineer for trying to do some low-impact development, such as the drainage swales, the rain garden infiltration. We just feel that that has to be supplemented. While those ideas are good, they do have to be supplemented by some more traditional stormwater issues, such as collecting the roof drainage and putting that, as we saw in the last one, into subsurface disposal rather than putting it into the rain garden. The other issue is the setback. We need a confirmation of the setback from West Chapel Street. This is a state highway, and they need to, if they haven't, contact Mass DOT to give them your initial plans, because a Mass DOT highway access permit is going to be needed for the site. The location of that driveway is going to influence the location of the building. The location of the stormwater and the setback of 20 feet from the property line is going to influence the location of the building. So there are a number of items here that are going to affect what ends up being the final site plan. So we're suggesting they contact Mass DOT, at least on an initial basis, to find out if their location of the proposed driveway is acceptable for getting a DOT permit. The 20 spaces, just real quick, it's kind of a difficult thing, but if you read the zoning for parking, it's 2 spaces per unit. But then at the end, after 3 bedrooms, there's a comma, and then it says plus a half a space for each unit. And I think the interpretation has been that any of the buildings have to provide an additional half a space,
Whether it's 2 or 3 bedrooms.
whether they're 1, 2, or 3 bedrooms. That is a kind of a catch-all. It doesn't say 3 bedrooms, plus there's a comma in that, it's kind of an interpretation. So additional parking space is going to affect your stormwater location, your grading, and so forth. The other issue, which they need to discuss with the building inspector, is when you look at the special permit from the Board of Appeals, which they indicated they're going for, is that in the transitional commercial district, it requires a special permit for the gross floor area of between 5 and 10,000 square feet. It does not say, and it does not imply, you can do more than 10,000 square feet, because the special permit is required for between 5 and 10. If it intended to be more than 10,000 square foot footprint or gross floor area, it probably would have said, special permit is required for greater than 5,000 square feet. It wouldn't have had that 10,000, which implies to me, which needs to be discussed with the building inspector, if you can do more than 10,000. Because the proposed project has a gross floor area of more than 10,000. Again, if the building inspector comes back and says, yeah, you can't do more than 10, it's going to again affect the layout of the project. The concerns we had for the stormwater, again, were the swale, the low point in the rear of the property, needs to look at how overflows are going to be handled. Should be design provided for the roof separate from the rain garden. And snow storage areas need to be provided. It's pretty dense, around too many, other than up front, which are gonna be difficult to plow to the rear. They need some additional snow storage. Those are not exhaustive, but those are some of the items we feel that are gonna need to be addressed, which would affect the final layout that the board's gonna have to look at. So we're suggesting they go back to the drawing boards, identify the solutions to some of these issues, particularly the setbacks, the Mass Highway, and the zoning board, or the zoning enforcement officer's opinion on whether or not 10,000 square feet is allowed in this zoning district.
Thank you, Mr. Johns. Before I open it up to the board, I just want to read a couple of things, a couple of comments we got. This is from Chief Cotty. We're sorry for the delay. Fire department has reviewed the site plan for 207 Bedford Street. While the plan does meet the minimal requirements as required, the fire department does have some concerns. The building of 8 units in such a small lot poses certain challenges to the fire department in the event that an emergency arises at the location. We have studied the site plan design on other projects in Abington, and while the garage counts as a parking space, we have found that the occupants rarely use the garage, vehicle parking, and will park elsewhere, blocking emergency vehicles. During parties or events at that location, people may park on West Chapel Street, which is already narrow and could possibly block our access or make it dangerous to do so. The site plan also shows the use of easy grass pavers. While these pavers are rated to hold our trucks, we have found out that during the winter, plows will not clear the grass of snow, blocking our trucks from using turn-ons. Any questions, feel free to reach out. Second comment from Mary Ann Wong from the building department. She's reviewed this and found this filing unsuitable for review. The building department has never seen 4 important components of plans compiled into one 11x17 submission plan: existing conditions plan, drainage and grading plan, site layout and utilities plan, landscape and erosion control plan. Assuming for some reasons the building department got this smaller plan, we will await opinions from the planning board on the project status. Petitioner did not list the zoning district this project is being proposed in the application, which is very odd to miss such an important detail. And we've got a comment letter here from the Water Department, and any plans submitted to and approved by other boards do not constitute water availability. They'd have to fill out an application for water. And we have a comment from John Stone, the Director of the Public Works. The Abington Water Department has reviewed your request for information regarding the planning board hearing scheduled January 8th, 2024, and has the following comments. This proposal must be approved by the Board of Sewer Commissioners at a regular scheduled meeting. So now I'm going to open this up to the board. You guys comments?
Well, I think Dave said that a lot gets triggered by trying to resolve some of the issues. One of the issues I didn't know, I'm sorry, I'm looking for a copy of your notes, but I don't have it. On unit number 8, you can swing into the parking spot, but just keep back, you have to back out and swing into someone else's parking spot to turn around. There's no room to back up.
Right.
Yeah, but that was part of your notes?
Well,
Some of them, okay.
it's part of the fact that all the parking's gonna have to be looked at anyway.
Okay, that's what I thought.
But
All right.
that's a good comment that they ought to be aware of, that you can't get out of that parking space without backing into somebody else's driveway. Which if there was a car there, they'd be backing out until they found a space.
I guess the only comment I'd make on it is when you come back, do not place, if you place utilities on the street, they've got to be contained and not visible. Obviously, they have to be able to get to, well, they don't go to the meters anymore, it's all electronic. But that's the biggest eyesore, having gas meters, electric meters all hanging on the main street with nothing covering it. So when you come back, is there a utility plan submitted?
Yeah,
Okay.
well, that was one of my comments I didn't go over, is that they have a dumpster located right in the front of the building.
Yeah,
So that, again, is gonna affect.
okay.
Is there a reason why the site wasn't spread out a little bit more in coming towards West Chapel to improve all of what's going on in between,
Not to my knowledge, no, that I wasn't part of the design of it.
and shifting the whole development towards West Chapel and away from abutters to the south and opening things up a little bit more. And then the last part of my comment letter was, you know, we're available, should the applicant wanna call and discuss some of these further and any suggestions we might have.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Other comments?
As mentioned with the last applicant, when we have these developments where the buildings are sideways compared to the streetscape, the part facing the streetscape needs to have additional architectural details to make it look a little prettier, if this is the design you end up keeping.
The elevations look nice, but yeah, the side always gets ignored. So, rather than it look like you're turning away from the street, we'll do something with that.
Bob Soper, any comments?
This needs to be a lot of work done to this
I would
before it
agree.
comes back. I just feel like we're wasting our time.
I would agree on that. Mr. Shepherd?
No, I agree with that as well. That, given the comments and the model revision we're probably talking about, particularly given the DOT input,
I think
that
this
it's
is,
premature for us to get into this too much.
yeah, we also need to have the engineer here. But I guess we should hear some public comments. If you'd like to make a comment, please give us your name and address, please.
Hi, my name is Carolyn Belvis. I live at 112 Everett Street. The proposed property strays away from the intended use of the transitional commercial zone. The purpose and intent of this district was to preserve the residential character of the existing development by allowing limited low-traffic generating, non-residential uses which can be used to operate in adapted, expanded existing houses or compatible new small-scale office retail buildings. This district emphasizes the preservation and use of existing structures. The property is not preserving using the existing structure. It will not minimize congestion on Route 18. It will not preserve the character and appearance of this neighborhood. That whole transitional commercial district is all single-family homes except for one automotive garage. It's a one-story. Uses in the TZ zone, as you had mentioned, the gross square footage is supposed to be between 5,000 and 10,000 and not exceed 10,000 for the special permit. 8 units on this property is an extreme overdevelopment. This is not a large lot. It's very close to the properties behind it. The grade itself is pretty substantial. The property shown also doesn't meet the dimensional density table for the property in the TZ zone. According to the definitions in word use, this property, because it's located on the corner, has 2 front setbacks and 2 rear setbacks. It does not have a side setback. So that this, because this is a front, this has to be a rear. So this would be required to be 20 feet on its own. And then also, this setback right here, he has it 21 feet. Because this is a TZ zone abutting a residential zone, that requires it to be 25 feet, not 21. We as abutters are extremely concerned about where is the snow going. If you're gonna plow the snow all the way against the back, it's just gonna melt and drain right into our yards. Drainage, the prior plan that he submitted had insufficient drainage. This plan is a larger plan, takes up more space. And so we're extremely concerned about the drainage and where the snow will go. My last 2 questions are, does this property require blasting? 4 sites required blasting. The Learning Center needed blasting to be put in. Blasting is a huge problem to the residents around him. So I wanted to know that. And then if these properties are being sold and not rented, what do we as residents in the area have as recourse when things happen? If he's just selling these properties off, can we go after the new owners? Do we go after him to fix any issues that may arise?
Thank you. Any further public comment?
My name is John Libby. I live at 21 West Chapel Street. my boundary line is right here, and it's gonna go across over here. The complex that he's talking about, which is a house lot, not a complex, is being built right in back. So my whole backyard is being destroyed, so we say, because I have no privacy whatsoever. The driveway that comes in off of West Chapel Street runs right across here, where he's talking about putting in all this construction. So my thought in mind was that to take into consideration that this was a house lot, not a complex. This particular plan is great, but not 207 Bedford Street. And I leave it at that.
Thank you. Anyone else? Please.
Hi. I'm Christina Walker. I live at 4 West Chapel, so I live directly across the street. Most of what I was going to say, she already said. We are concerned about the height of the property, just because everything else around there is 1 story or 2 stories without like attics on the top. The parking spaces, I know that you guys have already done some of this stuff with the parking spaces in the 25 feet. The snow removal, the dumpsters in the front. Sorry. And we were just concerned about, like, the water supply in Abington is already bad. The fire trucks, my father was a firefighter, so I look at that stuff, and, you know, I'm not sure if you can even get more than 1 in there. Trash in the front, but that's all I had. It's just, it didn't fit with the residential area.
Thank you.
I think we need to point out, I believe, to this young lady here, that the board is not empowered here to make a determination on the use. It's going to be the zoning board of appeals, so you might want to save some of those comments for them, but they will take into account how that use affects the site, given that the Board of Appeals may, in their wisdom, approve it. So that would be another reason to kind of push off any action on this, is given the potential issues here, not only with the site, but with the abutters concern, that the Board of Appeals should probably make a decision on the use before any additional work goes forward with the site plan, along with the comments.
Least of all, it would start with a building inspector.
Yeah.
So you're concerned too about why he couldn't push it over? He has to have 40 feet off that street, he's currently sitting at 41, so he doesn't have any wiggle room in this property one way or another to move it.
From a planning point of view, I don't see this thing going forward as it is, because it's overly packed. To make it work, you gotta get rid of some buildings, get rid of 1 building maybe, and just have 1 in the middle. But so I'm just saying, whatever they look at, just on Dave's responses, unless they go looking for every possible relief variance we can give, I don't think that would be what you see. I'm just speculating it, but I'm just looking at dimensions on the plan that I don't know. I'd have to turn it 90 degrees to try to find something different in it.
This is the second property he's proposed, and it's like we had the same concerns about the last property, and he took our concerns and went bigger. And that just shows the disregard for his neighbors and for the community as a whole, that he wouldn't take any of that into consideration.
Are there any other folks who would like to speak on this?
Yeah,
Sir.
Jonathan Walker, I'm 4 West Chapel. I just had a couple questions. I know we mentioned the blasting. Last time we met, somebody on this board told us, we asked the question, well, what happens when our foundation or anything happens? You said you have a great litigation on your hands. So my question to you is, how do we stop that from before the litigation happens? And then my other question is, how many trees do you have to plant per number of trees that you cut down? And last time we met too, you also, somebody on the board said they were gonna look into what a Fisher lot was. So I'm wondering if you had looked into what a Fisher lot was and found out what that is for us.
Fisher lot?
A Fisher lot. The previous owner, for us, who we bought the house from, told us that the lot across the street, part of the acreage in question, is what they call a Fisher lot. And that means it's protected and can't be knocked down. I'm not sure, I obviously don't know a lot about it, so we'll do more, but someone said they were gonna look into it for us.
So, Mr. Chairman, I did try to find out what that was, and even with the Google machine, I could not find out what that is. I asked the assessors, I tapped every resource in this building,
He
and
just said it's a wildlife protected area.
Yeah.
That can't be-
Like I say coyote, but it's coyote. I don't
it's
know.
coyote here. So,
Who knows, somebody
for
watching
it to
this
be
would say.
protected, there are certain ways you can use your land, like farmland or hunting land, and it puts it in a different tax status, or you can actually put it in a protected status. You can file certain documents with the state, like some houses, there's a couple of houses in Abington that are protected, that you can't really do anything to them because they're historical homes. I've never heard of that, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist, but I did ask. So I just wanted to let you know, I did try to find the answer to your question.
I just, to, also on that was part of our appeal to move to Abington. My wife's from New York. I grew up 40 miles south. That was part of the appeal to move to this town, was the fact that we were told this, we have great neighbors on one side, we have great neighbors on the other side, we don't know the neighbors on the other side.
That's your biggest thing, though, is once your neighbors move, you get a whole different set of, nothing stays. I've found that, unfortunately.
And right now, it's sort of woods, so
Yeah.
all the wildlife that comes through there, the deer, the coyotes, the rabbits, the skunks, the squirrels, everything that comes through goes right through like the back of our yards, and it would be a shame to see that go away as well.
When I get home tonight, I'll go on Mass Planner's listserv, you can take a look at that. And I'll put Fisher Lot up there and see if we can, because that's a community of planners, and I'm a retired planner from the Old Colony Planning Council. And I'll put that on there, yeah.
How do you spell it?
Like the
I-
Fisher
I
cat.
did like a Fisher cat.
That's just what the Cliffords told us, and they lived in the house for over 40-something years.
All right, I'm gonna write that down.
I tried
Just like John,
F-I-S-H-E-N,
who's lived in his house over 50
F-I-C,
years.
Yeah, it could just be a term we haven't used in a long time, that's all right,
Right.
yeah.
Do you know the answer about the trees?
So we do have a new canopy bylaw, and I will let Mr. Collins tell you right off the top of his head.
Because he's so prepared.
They would have to indicate trees a certain size on the lot, and then basically replace on a 1 to 3 basis, so every 3 trees cut down, replace with 1. And if it's not feasible, they need to at least show their work as to what they're trying to do to maximize to a certain extent.
Because those two lots right now are very overgrown, and we
Yeah.
don't see a lot of trees on those plans.
Yeah, and decorative, 12-foot cherry trees don't really count towards the canopy aspect of it, so.
Is there anyone else in the neighborhood who would like to speak on this?
I'll be very quick, because I'm not nearly as smart or pretty researcher as my neighbors are. My name is Janice Siri, I live at 104 Everett Street. I am a butter, my backyard abuts the current backyard right now. I know I'm not gonna get what I want. I don't see anything bigger than a 2-family going in that lot. We're going from a single-family household to, 2 bedrooms times 8. I know he's a businessman. I know, I'm concerned now that I hear that there are townhomes that are gonna be for sale versus rental
Oh,
property.
they will be rental.
Pardon me?
I did discuss that with my client after I sat down, they're going to be rental.
They're going to be rental, okay, all right, because I was gonna say that would be a cool $4 million, and then we're left with no one to answer for. I don't think that Bedford Street or any of our surrounding neighbors needs the additional traffic or parking spaces. It's like a mini Ivana, across the street from, right where their outlet is. I know myself right now, just trying to take a left to head south on Route 18, while somebody from Ivana is trying to come out and go north on Route 18, it's taking your lives in your hands, any time of day, depending on traffic. I do not want, I mean, the last plan, as attractive as it was not for that particular lot. It was apparently also 3 stories high, I don't recall that.
It was a big building.
Pardon me?
It was a really big building.
Yeah, it was a really one big building, but now what we will have is 2 looming, as opposed to one monolith that's 3 stories high. Now we've got 2 columns that are 3 stories high. I don't want 2 buildings 3 stories high overlooking my backyard. It's just, it's, if you're talking about use of the property, it's not proper usage to my way of thinking. I mean, I would be very happy, I know I'm not gonna get my way, I would be very, because he's in it for the money, I would be very happy with the 2-family, 1st floor, 2nd floor. That I could live with. That's not gonna happen, but neither should this. No way. It's not in keeping, I don't know, I don't have it memorized, and like I said, I'm not as well researched, but I know that there's something in the bylaws that say it should be in the same sort of aesthetic as the surrounding neighborhood. And this is anything but.
Anyone else?
If I could offer a suggestion, I spent a lot of years living in Quincy, and there's a lot of, I had a lovely time, my family's half from there. There's a lot of 2, 3, 4 family structures in Quincy that I think are architecturally and size appropriate for this lot. And I would encourage you to think about some of those as maybe a better fit for something like this.
What I was going to suggest, by the way, I wasn't present at the last presentation with the last building, and my client did make an attempt to come back, 8 units from 14 to 8 units. Excuse me, 13, I thought it was 14. So he did reduce the size and the number of the units, and he did make an effort.
He didn't reduce the building size.
Notwithstanding that, I'm involved now. I'm listening to the concerns of the neighbors. I'm listening to the concerns of the board and the peer review engineer. And I've suggested to my client that he just withdraw the application, go back to the drawing board, try to get something different. I'm not gonna suggest it's gonna be a 2-family or a 4-family. I think we gotta do some work with the engineer and the architect to come up with something that addresses the concerns of the peer review, addresses some of the concerns of the neighbors, has an architectural, has a landscape architectural plan addressed with it so that you can see and have a nice picture of what it's going to look like or what we propose it to look like. And then, and what I often do is have neighborhood meetings at the site. And I know this isn't the best time of year to do that for sure, but I'm not opposed to holding after we have a schematic to letting the neighbors know that we have something that we plan to propose and to meet and talk about your concerns before we propose it and try to do it the right way so that we don't have to come back a 4th time with this. My client has made a substantial investment. He wants to do something that fits, but he certainly is a businessman. He's going to keep the units when he ultimately builds them, if he builds them. But it doesn't seem like it makes any sense to come back on the same application with so many modifications that are going to be required. I'd ask the board to allow us to withdraw this and come back maybe in March. Keep your fingers crossed if we can get our ducks in a row, or potentially April, with a new application and a new notice sent out.
I think that would be a wise course. It'd be awfully tough to have a public hearing on that site because he's dumped loads of fill into the driveway and he's put a big construction fence around that yard. So it's gonna be awfully difficult to have a meeting on that site. Yeah, this is just my opinion, not the board's, but that last proposal was just, it was unacceptable to the neighbors, and I think it was unacceptable to the members of the board. I think it was way out of scale for that, site. I'm sorry that your engineer has COVID, and I'm sorry he can't be here, but Mr. Johnson has made a ton of comments on this project, so,
And actually, Mr. Fleming did address some of the comments. I would show it, but it's not really relevant. He agreed with many of those comments, and he had addressed the stormwater and how to deal with the runoff from the roof and obtaining the DEP.
DOT.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's no interpretation of
Permit,
what,
which I don't think would be an issue, but nonetheless.
Particularly at Mr. Johnson's note that depending upon how that comes back, that could affect the design.
Right.
So as a preliminary step, that's the first place kind of to go.
So he has a good engineer, and he read Mr. Johnson's comments, he agreed with many of them, and he had some ideas to address them, but I think they're gonna require a different design anyways. So the only issue really is the other fees for the application again, and rather than going in on this application, which I'm happy to do, give us 2 months. It might be somewhat significant. I've presented to Mr. Johnson beforehand. I'm certainly happy to do that as well. I prefer to do that. It might save a little bit of money for my client, but I anticipate that the design is going to be a little bit different than it is. As you see it here, we're going to have to maneuver some of the structures, size and location to fit the engineering issues that are necessary. So I'll leave it up to the board.
And as had been commented earlier, that depending upon what the zoning board of appeals
Well, yes,
determines.
that's it's a chicken or the egg, which comes first. It's hard to go to the zoning board with a plan. Now, if we'd gone there and say we were approved and we came here, then we would have had to change the whole design, and then we would have to potentially go back. So I think getting the site, but I'm open to suggestions. I think getting the site plan review makes a little bit more sense. The neighbors have their input. The issues, I understand the use issue is not an issue that this is before this board. It would be in front of the zoning board, and certainly it's residential at this point. This is, granted, it's single family, not multifamily, but it is residential at this point, and not commercial. So I really think the hurdle to overcome is the site plan review, and we're open to suggestions, and we want to make it right. So my preference is to stay here and get it right and then go to the zoning board.
I suggest that the real hurdle here is the 10,000 plus, 10,000 minus.
That's the one that
Because we roughed it up roughly, I think you're about
I think it's
14,
Oh, is it that much?
14,
I didn't think it was
13,
quite that much.
14,000.
Yeah,
get that comment.
yeah, so I think
So-
that's something that's gonna have to be addressed. So, we're gonna have to make
I think from this
some pretty
drawing.
major adjustments to
Oh,
the buildings. If we keep the amount of units, we'll see.
I just want to come back, and Mr. Shea is getting this from me. I just want to come back to a comment that I read about from Ms. Wong from the building department.
What, that it didn't say TZ zone?
It didn't say a lot of things in there, and
Yeah.
she was really disturbed.
It said TC, maybe not on the app, it's on the plan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let me read this again. It says, Building department has never seen four important components of this plan compiled into one 11 by 17 submission plan. Existing condition plan, drainage, grading plan, site layout, utilities plan, landscape and erosion plan. Assuming for some reason the building department got this smaller plan, we will await opinions from the planning board on this project. Petitioner did not list the zoning district in this project as being proposed on this application, which is very odd to miss such an important detail.
Well, they got a different plan than the board.
They did, and I
The engineer
told your
got.
client, right, I told them that wasn't gonna fly, because it's not the way we normally get plans. We usually get a site plan, we usually get the landscape plan, each one, and then they're all stapled together.
Mhm.
And if I gave the board the large plans, because they're the decision-making authority, and what I distributed to the rest of the town were the 11 by 17s you gave me. So they were basically almost unreadable. right? When you're cramming all of that onto
More if you-
a small, well,
I went
you know what, I
proper
asked you guys for a lot of stuff, and every time you came in, I told you, I mean, I did say, I'm not sure this is gonna fly, this doesn't look like what we normally get. I had a conversation with the engineer, I mean, what's done is done, but I'm just
Right.
saying, that's why we get this comment back, she couldn't read the plan. Right?
Right, well,
Because it was
I-
11 by
evidently, I don't know what
17.
plan received,
She got an
but-
11 by 17 copy of that.
Okay. Well,
So, that, I'm just, that's what I'm saying.
I know I don't wanna dispute it. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
We're gonna address that issue as well, but I did drop the plans off to the planning director.
Twice.
Right.
And I don't think I mentioned it to you the second time, because
Right.
at that point, I had held up my hands, I had asked the applicant to take the plans back and fix the application and
I think-
add snow storage
I think
and a
what we'll do-
dumpster.
What we'll do in the future is I'll be the individual.
That's fine,
He'll be dealing with
I'm
it.
just
That
saying,
way
that
we
was
make-
the
make
result
it
of that
right.
comment, that was
Yeah,
why.
because we had 3 different people
Yep,
going there trying to get this in time, so.
yep,
I think,
I'll be the point person from here on.
that's fine.
I think you're very wise to withdraw it at this point. But honestly, with the list of concerns that's been listed here, I don't see how you could ever get this in March. I think we're talking like May on this, to tell you the truth. There's just really a lot of stuff that needs to be
I
addressed.
wouldn't hurry this now.
Yeah.
Well, we could keep the same application and bring in new plans and put it on for April and see how we do, if that's what you prefer.
I think at the very minimum is April.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I mentioned that to my client already. He's like to see March, but, you know, if we can't get what we need to get done in time, we can't get done what we need to get done. But, you know, we're gonna do it right.
And I
I'll
want
make
you-
sure that I work with the planning.
I want you to get together with the neighbors. If it's not there, I want you to be here. We've had a lot of projects in town where the developers got together with the neighbors and walked through it. I'm thinking of the 40B off of Summer Street in Abington near the train station. There was a lot of walkthroughs. There was a paintball thing at the site, and I remember walking through there almost getting hit by paintball. But the neighbors were really involved in that. And we've had a history of that in this town. And I think you really need to do this,
Yeah.
because this is such a controversial project. And, you know, and I'm trying to be, you know, impartial, but we've had a couple of presentations on this now, and we see how concerned the neighbors are. You know, I used to be friends with the people who owned that house that sold it to your developer, and I was in that, I'm impartial. It was a long time ago. But, yeah, a lot of work, guys. Come back to us when you got some, talk to the neighbors, and have your engineer get really in close touch with Mr. Johnson and Liz and our new assistant town planner here, and work with these people, please.
Yeah, we'll do.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for your input. Appreciate it, thank you.
Yeah.
Can I just have a motion to grant the request to withdraw the plan?
Oh, yeah, motion to request to withdraw.
Make that motion.
Oh, Bob, make that motion.
Okay, Bob's made the motion to withdraw the plan. Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your input, by the way.
Thank you, it's great input.
Well, that's what's helpful. He does a meeting prior to our meeting. You'll get more educated. Here, you're trying to rush to learn.
How are you doing?
Terminology and all that stuff. So it's better, if he does that, it'll be fantastic. When he comes in, there should be a, okay, you go. But if he comes in there with a bunch of stuff like
She
that,
did
it's hard.
her,
Because an
she did
engineer's
her
nowhere near-
education before she came
The
in.
engineer's from Tewksbury, which is too far away. So, yeah, what he is, he's from Bridgewater or someplace.
Do you live here in Abington now?
That might be a little bit.
Oh, okay. It's a good area.
Here, you're welcome. You're welcome. It's useless, but you're welcome to that. Yeah, I'm not, because it's gonna hit my recycling bin when I get home.
Market was such
That's the
that
top of the
at
head.
my age, I couldn't take
Everything runs that way.
$500,000, $600,000.
Yes.
Restore mine,
Once
We're
my
not
mixed
roof
juice,
line. Even with.
So the other
You
part.
didn't think that was cool?
That would be
once my lease is up.
And then you've got a 35 foot
Everything there, only the use of the property.
backyard, we have a swimming pool.
They're the,
Peace out, my friend.
the board,
Go home and eat.
granting
My
authority.
summer?
A lot of things we are, but it's spelled out of the zoning book, who has.
I live right down the street from one time.
We're just gonna
I
make
live
sure
right
it's
down the
built
street from
correctly.
my
so
friend
that
on
it
Randolph
can't
Street,
be
you know, all the things that Ken Ryder put in, all those apartments and stuff. And they were wicked
He's
awful.
calling, he's like, you always sent me the one that, yeah.
That's toned down. It's still amazing.
You will get to
They
see
wanna
me
have like
again.
4-story
I may still have mermaid here, I'm not sure.
It's just too much.
I don't think it's.
We'll see.
So thanks for coming
Right,
out.
right? April, I'll already been to the beach.
Appreciate it.
There's a lot of terminology, it's got definitions in there. too,
Right.
that
Any
helps.
way that you
Yeah.
guys can get him to say if he's gonna have to blast.
Well, I wish them well.
Because if he has to blast, this 250-foot radius, he has to come out, they have to do pre-blasting inspections.
Okay, one, pardon me.
Oh, no, go right ahead.
When they blasted for
For the day.
across the street.
Oh, for Forsyth.
Drive, they came, the town required a person to come into my home
Yeah.
and film my whole home.
Good.
Yeah, they
Everyone-
require 200,
everyone within a certain
state of
radius.
Massachusetts requires 250 feet from the
Mhm.
property gets an
And
inspection.
that's
But they keep dodging, I keep asking about the blasting, because we live on a granite ledge, like I have a radon
You know this
system, we
lake,
have,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
Straight across.
huh?
you have radon?
Oh, yeah, so our radon, it's supposed to be 0.4 is the limit. Our basement, when we bought the house, was 24.
See, I just saw that
So-
tonight, and I'm gonna go out and.
Oh, just.
Oh, yeah, I-
Side of the house.
My
Yeah.
house is 1850,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so that's why.
There's plenty
Yeah,
of-
mine's 1870, had a granite foundation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and you know, it's just like,
Yeah, everyone, when we bought in 2011, everyone's like, what's that big white pipe on the side of your house? We're like, we had to put radon system in, 'cause it's so
Yeah.
bad.
But if it brought it
So,
from
I'm
20
just learning of this, so I better.
24 to 24.
The Turcots would be amazed at this
Roland would
proposal.
be
He'd be rolling.
I knew Roland very well.
I have never yet gone to a funeral
I do
of
the
someone
daughter
who had
Dorinda.
Yeah.
exposure to whatever, the gas radon.
Did she? Oh my
I haven't seen that one as a issue, other than it's not good.
Would manifest as cancer.
She wasn't that much older than me.
So people would die from cancer.
Is it from, it's from the concrete, isn't it, or is it from the ground?
is there a way to have that, figure that out before they come back with the.
David Johnson's a great expert. David and I have been friends forever.
Yeah.
He will, he'll do it.
All right, yeah, just because I keep asking, they keep not answering it, even though I think I know the answer.
David's retired, but we're lucky to have him as a consultant.
Yeah.
I've known David since
Well, every
1976,
question,
so
you
we're
said
old.
everything we had on there.
A lot of the stuff, yeah.
Oh, you mean
Keep in mind
the
too,
developer,
that
the
what,
All right, thank you.
I'm saying that,
Good for you.
that they reduced the number of units.
Guess what?
My neighbors came back with.
I know
still
somebody,
taking up more
I know
It's still
a
huge.
huge from,
It's still
and
huge.
that's
It's crazy.
Were they
It's
withdrawing
fine.
the application and resubmitting, that's the plan?
the
Yeah,
village.
so you'll get notice.
So
So-
notice, okay.
No, we
Start all
won't.
over again.
No, we won't. You guys didn't get notice this time, right? No. The way it's structured, he didn't trigger any of the public hearing notice. Triggers, so, which is like parking spaces, a lot of stuff. Like, you'll get notified from the zoning board of appeals when he goes before them.
Oh,
Jack usually keeps in touch with me, or I try to run into him if it comes in.
would that be why you did planning board first before zoning to not trigger that, or would that not? I just feel like they're trying to skirt something,
Yeah,
but,
I don't know, and you can always reach out to either Kevin or I.
Carolyn's voice.
Yeah, she has my card, so she can always email me or call me.
Okay,
Um,
keep an eye on it.
Yeah, and I have a filing deadline
Yep.
schedule on the website, and she can call
Okay,
like the Monday after that filing deadline, and I'll know whether it's here or not.
okay.
So he's shooting for April. The April meeting will be at the high school.
This is why we need an assistant town planner. Welcome to Abington, Kevin.
Yeah, so the April meeting will be before town meeting down at the high school. So, and I will have that on the agenda, but just in your head, if it's April, that's where we'll be.
Sounds good.
You'll have to meander your way through the school halls again.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, it's easy enough.
All right.
Thanks for
Thank
coming
you,
out,
guys.
folks.
Thank you all.
Take care.
Thank you.
All right, just 20 minutes of Want to talk about the tri-party agreement?
Yeah, we're all set.
We're all done on that one?
And so MBTA 3A Communities, do you guys want anything for the soiree on the 29th?
I mean, as long as we have some maps, I
You
think
would
that'd
like
be
some maps,
helpful.
like some big maps?
Yeah. So people can mosey around and look and point and,
All right, we'll see what we can do about that. We actually have the materials, and we have the whiz kid. Kevin's going, what?
What?
What, me?
Thought you
We'll
were
figure
talking
it
about
out.
David.
We'll figure
It's
it
the
out.
whiz kid.
Bet you'll be using that GIS to whip out some maps.
Okay.
Okay. And then I don't know if you want to discuss the potential peer reviewer to add. I did have a conversation with Scott Turner of Environmental Partners. I still don't have a fee schedule. My inclination is that they are pricier than what we're paying now. They're very much kind of no nonsense. Here's the review. They really, no side taking or anything like that, but Dave doesn't either. So I think you'd be getting Dave, only more expensive, and they do the stormwater, they do everything.
Well, I guess as long as they, like we had, Dave knows, and he's done a perfect job, but when we've said to Mike before that if you get too much comments, stop, just throw it back, 'cause
Right.
it's just a waste of time.
Right, and he's happy to do that. Yeah, so, I mean, they're already employed by the town, or they have been employed by the town for some DPW stuff, and they're actually working on a grant for me.
So you know.
So they're a known quantity. I think we can add them to the list, and if people want to use them, they can use them if that's fine with you guys.
Sounds like there's no harm in that.
No, and I think basically I always give everybody
So
a
is this in
choice.
anticipation of Dave's availability going forward?
Yes,
Yeah.
although Dave sounds
Do we
now
know
like he's
anything?
okay. No, I don't. I wish I
Okay.
did. No, I'm happy to have Dave stay and,
Me too.
right,
too.
and continue to work. I know he's retired and spending a lot of time in Maine, so that's really, it was, I
He's-
think, more about his availability,
He's
but.
still planning on living in East Bridgewater, which is good. My wife and I had, public acknowledgement, David and his wife Ann are great friends of Kathy, my wife, myself. And we had dinner with him recently, and he said he's gonna stay in East Bridgewater,
Which is good for us.
He's gonna sell his house, but he's gonna
Right.
stay in East Bridgewater. What else?
So if the board is okay with that, I will just add environmental partners to the list and
Sure.
actually just let everybody choose when they come in, who they wanna use.
So that's not really a commitment of any kind, so we don't take a vote on that, do we?
I don't think so.
No.
No, I mean, I can put on another agenda if you wanna do that, if you wanna vote on it, but.
Just a couple of things I want to mention before we go. Mass Economic Development Council is going to have and I sent this to Kevin and Liz, but they're going to have a session on housing at Shaw Center. I think it's on the 17th, and it's like $30 to go. The Mass Secretary of Housing is going to be there. It's going to be a lot of top people. Doesn't have a lunch. It's like from.
Oh, we're not going.
Oh, well, yeah, no. I used to be.
No food?
I used to be a public employee, no.
is it all about how housing is great and we should approve all housing?
Yeah, it's all about housing and state plan. And I thought that was important for us because of what we're gonna be doing with he's gonna talk about the MBTA 3A communities. And also, as an advert for Citizens Planner Training Collaborative, we're gonna have a session on the 3A communities at our annual conference in March out of Holy Cross. Kevin, you should go, back at your alma mater. Sean has been the one.
At Holy Cross.
Sean has been
Their
doing
annual
this.
meeting at Holy Cross.
It's usually around St. Patrick's Day weekend.
Oh.
Yeah, Sean's been there.
College campus, St. Patrick's Day weekend?
Yeah, I know.
Oh, I'll
Where
be
do we
there.
sign up?
Right?
I'll show up again.
Is there lunch?
I'll show up again. I know where the party is.
You know where the party is?
The kids
You can be
celebrate
leading
after
it.
we get done, let's put it that way. One year ago, we went, that's another story, it's lots of snow. But what else? Colony Planning Council is, according to Charlie Kilmer, the Assistant Director, they've hired Paul Umano, who was, he's worked for the City of Brockton for several years, and he's gonna be their grants coordinator. And I don't know whether that's gonna be useful to towns. But I know Paul personally, I've known him for a long time. His uncle was Pat Chiramello, who was my boss. at Old
Ah,
Colony.
yes, yes, yes.
So it's good to have another Chiramello back on the employment rules of Old Colony Planning Council. But I think Paul would be a great resource. This could, they also hired Bill Napolitano part-time, and he's a terrific environmental planner. He's another guy who came over there from Serpent. And, you know, Bill potentially could be a great resource to us.
Yeah.
I've known Bill for a long time, and he's a great guy. I've been in the planning community for a long time, and I know a lot of people, so it's good. Anyway, anybody else got anything you want to talk about tonight?
Have a nice year.
Hearing none, motion to adjourn?
Make that motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good night, everyone.